Anyway, okay, so Adam just joined us. Hello, everybody. We're doing a little pre-show stuff here.
I just got a notification. Watch live now. Dwaine, Survivor Millennials. There we go.
Right, because
I blocked those. I got so tired of hearing those.
David's like, "Shut up, Dwaine."
When hey,
after you just tweeted too.
After you got your check, I stopped following at Survivor_talk. It fills up my feed so much. I'm like, Dwaine, you gotta stop it. It's automatic. It just does it anyway.
I do 5 tweets a day, and they're automatic.
Yeah, it seems to hit all at once.
I should hire you.
Yeah, really.
Hey, you can afford them now.
That's true.
That's right. All right, y'all about ready to go? We're going to start.
Let's do this.
Let's do it. Let's start.
No overlay. Yeah, I did. I selected that one. All right. There we go.
It's Aubrey Bracco from Survivor Co. Wrong. Start your wagon wheels and get rolling because it's time to hit the Survivor Trail with Dwaine and Dave on Survivor Talk with D&D. Cock your wagon and float on through. It's sure to be a fun ride. Just be sure not to get dysentery and die.
Hey, everybody.
So exciting.
Welcome to Survivor Talk with D&D. It's been forever. And I am here with my best friend, David. We're just 2 best friends talking about the show we love, Survivor. David, how are you, man? I haven't seen you in a long time.
It's been like a year since we've talked.
Oh.
I mean, it's been so long. Yeah. It's been so long.
You're really going to pull those jokes. Really?
Well, as long as your microphone buzzes, I'm going to pull those jokes.
Oh, am I buzzing already?
Just to hear you.
Well, then.
I didn't want Jessica to embarrass you, so I thought I'd do it first.
It ain't embarrassing. I just don't want to scratch my microphone.
I didn't want her to rock you out of the podcast, so I didn't.
Oh, my God.
All right, David,
Don't
go ahead.
talk next to Jessica. It's not nice.
David, go ahead and introduce our guest.
I know, right? It's not nice.
See, I wanted to call this podcast the Rock and Soul Survivor Podcast, but he didn't. He didn't think that was funny. See, she's not even smiling now, but still, she didn't think that was too funny.
No, I thought it was going to be the winner and the loser. Like, I thought we were going to work that in there.
Ladies and gentlemen, the winner, Adam, and the loser, Jessica.
Ta-da! Yeah.
We both pulled from
eliminated.
the same bag. So.
We did. We both pulled for us.
And did you pull first, Jessica? Did you pull first?
I did.
I was watching that clip tonight, and I saw you were the first one just to put your head down and wait.
It's terrible. Well, and it's one of those things I felt like it was either best to draw first or draw last. Because if you draw last, your decision's made for you. It's done. Right. But first...
I thought it was best to just draw after Jessica drew the black one.
Yeah, you were like sneaking
exactly.
You were like looking between her fingers.
I was like, all right, she pulled that one. Now I can pick. Now
like, okay, I'm good now. Thanks, Jeff.
Smoke coming from Jessica's hand. Let me draw now. She should be good to go.
I know. I set it up perfectly for all of you guys because you didn't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
No, we weren't worried at all. That look on my face, that wasn't fear.
No, not at all. Oh, that was awful. What a horrible moment. Horrible.
Gosh.
It was brutal. Absolutely.
Yeah, Adam's like, it wasn't too horrible for me.
No, it was. It really was.
No, it worked out great for him.
Yeah.
Well, in the end, it worked out all right. But at the time, I was terrified and devastated and sad, and it was not good. I was like, this is not how it's supposed to end for anybody.
And I can say Adam was the only one who actually, like, said goodbye to me. Like, he stood up and gave me a hug as I was crying and in shock and was about to leave. So I appreciate that, Adam. That's very sweet.
And of course, they cut out the hug just like they cut out every single time that Jessica and I spoke on the show. So
yes.
So when he hugged you,
I know
when he hugged you, did he say "vote for me"? If you're on the jury,
I'll give you 10 grand.
He slipped me a little note.
Yeah, 10 grand. Vote for me. You know that new motorcycle you want.
Terrible, but funny. That's a good point. Yeah.
Well, that's why we wanted to have y'all on the show together because y'all told us that they didn't show how close y'all were on the show.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
they didn't.
So it's good to have you both on. We have Jessica Lewis on. She's a lawyer, so we're going to be very careful with the things we say and do.
Hey, lawyers and lobbyists, kill them all, right, Jessica?
My connection is terrible. I missed like half of what you just said because I heard Jessica is a lawyer and we're going to be very careful, and that's
Wow,
it. Everything
that was like
else.
the greatest introduction he's ever made.
So we have to be careful. And I said lawyers and lobbyists kill them all, right, Jessica?
Nice.
There's background to that. It came up at Final Tribal Council, but that's another
really?
story.
Yes.
Then we have
Yes,
the winner,
that's
Adam
lobbyists
Klein.
and lawyers.
Adam, the winner of the season.
Am I getting introduced again?
Yeah, I didn't really officially introduce you.
Oh, okay. Thank
We
you.
just started talking, so that's just kind of what we did.
Here we go. Your official introduction.
All right.
All right. It was nice having y'all on. So
Wow, he got a round of applause.
no, and Jessica.
Thanks.
There we go.
We dropped the rock when you introduced Jessica. We dropped the rock on the floor. You didn't hear that?
And Jessica.
Wow. Dwayne, she's a lawyer. Didn't you hear that part? She's a
It's all right. I got
That was good. I like that.
Ninja on my side.
That was good.
Oh man. So I mean, y'all have done like, are y'all like sick of talking about it? And that's what,
Yeah.
we get y'all 3 weeks later and you're sick of talking about it. But I mean,
This is the first time in my life that my friends want to talk about Survivor more than I do.
nice.
Yeah.
Like for 16 years, I've been like, no, but there's this show. Like, you guys should check it out. And they're like, I don't want that show's still on. Like, I'll watch it if you get on.
Yeah. It's fake.
Then I did, and now they had to, and now they love talking about it. But I still do, so it's fun.
but do they want to talk about it over dinner, or do they just want to talk about it in general?
Both.
They're like,
Because they're expecting you. Yes, exactly.
they're like, why don't you go buy me a car and let's talk about Survivor?
Yeah.
Oh, my
In high
word.
school when I helped you on that test.
All of a sudden, all of your old friends are coming out of the woodwork.
Yeah. All of the people that joined my like help get Adam Klein on Survivor group, it's like, hey, I got you on the show, so
That's right.
10%.
Well, it was fun watching both of y'all. It was really a lot of fun. And Adam, man, you got how many idols did you end up getting? You find like 3?
Two idols plus I found the advantage.
That's right.
I found a total of 5 different things because they didn't show it, but for the second idol, I found the clue first before the idol.
Okay.
So I found the clue and the idol twice, and then the advantage. So it was fun finding things.
So after you found the third one, did you notice the cameramen were kind of directing you towards? It's like, hey, Adam.
See, it's over here.
No.
There's like signs.
Yeah,
Adam, go this
right.
way.
You absolutely do have to pay attention to the cameras,
Well,
right?
exactly.
Like I knew that there wasn't an idol at Takali when I was there with Jessica and everybody, because when I would go over to the well and no one would follow me.
Yeah.
If I would go alone, they wouldn't follow me. So
Right.
All right. So there's nothing here.
Yeah.
At one point I caught Ken looking, which was funny, or at least I thought he was looking. But
I really doubt he was looking. But go ahead if you want to think he was looking.
maybe he was picking up snails or something, but not all of them, just some of them. And
Only the ones that were worthy.
enough to continue to repopulate the population.
That's right.
But no, and then when I got to the merge beach and I went off, they followed. So I was like, all right, so something's out here, and I figured it was an idol, but it ended up being the advantage.
Right. So like you were looking at a tree and you walk off and you look back and the cameraman's focusing at the bottom of the tree. You're like, oh, I might want to go back.
Yeah, there was the tree that I found the first clue at. If you watch that episode, you'll see me say like I knew it, because there was something about that area.
Yeah.
That there was a little bit of that lingering. There was something going on in that region that it felt like a hot spot.
So they cut out that part that you said, I knew you were pointing at the tree for a reason. I knew the camera was focused here for a reason.
I got to jump in here though. I got to tell them about the whole, like, at the merge, we got a merge feast, and there was this really neat, like, emblem, like, on the cover of the container food was. And I was eyeballing this thing, like, you wouldn't believe, because I'm like, there's got to be something underneath it. And I was trying to figure out how I could, like, sneakily cut it off when no one was looking. And all of a sudden, the next day, it was gone. And I I looked at Adam and I was like, did you notice that? And he's like, don't say anything about it. Don't say anything about it, because he took it. He totally took it. So he's like, don't say a thing. He's like, it was nothing. There was nothing on the back of it. But he and I were both thinking the same thing. Like, there's got to be something there.
If I were at
So
home
yeah,
right
he was looking everywhere.
If I were at home right now, I would pull it out because I still have it. I brought it home. It was one of the things I like hid with my idol because I didn't want people to know that I had it, even though it ended up being nothing. I woke up in the middle of the night because I thought, the first idol that I found, it had the tribe logo on it, right? And so this box is the only thing in camp that has the tribe logo on it. And so I'm looking all around the box and I'm figuring there's something that has to do with this thing. And so I thought there was going to be a clue if I cut it off and it would be underneath. But it was right in the middle of camp, so I couldn't do it while everyone was looking. So I woke up in the middle of the night. And so the scene that you see me waking up to go talk to Taylor, they cut that clip from when I was waking up to cut off the thing. Whereas the scene with Taylor, I was already down there with him, and I didn't wake up and see him doing this. He did it right in front of me. So there's lots of little editing tricks that are
losing them too, or just
going
me
on there. What's that?
Could y'all hear everything he said, or am I losing him?
I've been in and out. It's weird. It comes in and then I lose some of it. I don't know what's going on.
Now I'm not surprised, but you mentioned the word editing, and earlier you talked about what we didn't see. And for me, one reason why this season was so good for me was it was like a good book or like a good movie. A good movie, an action movie, has several points of action, and there were several points this season of good action, like the Michaela vote and the Figgy vote, and then later the Zeke vote. And that's what was so good about this season in the edit is that it kept throwing us. In my opinion, it did, because I get so tired of people saying, I saw the edit. You can see the winner quote and all this kind of stuff. And that wasn't there this season. Actually did a really good job of where they ran the edit. But what did you guys think of watching your edit? I'll start with you, Jessica. What did you think about watching this?
If I heard any of your question, I would answer.
Basically, what did you think of the edit?
Yeah.
Of your edit specifically. Here, I'll just type it in our chat room.
Wow.
What did you think of the edit, Jessica?
All right, good. So it's not me this time. It's somebody else.
It's literally every other word is cutting out.
Jessica, what did you think about the edit? She still can't hear me, huh?
The edit, I didn't mind. But what I did mind was the fact that they completely took away the relationship that you and I had. So nobody even thought that we were friendly or close or anything. And so when I voted for you at the end, they were like, huh? Wait a second, what? That was a little frustrating.
Well, if you had, hopefully she can hear this, if you had put him to get the advantage instead of Ken, then they probably would have showed it.
Oh my God, what is wrong? Is my computer terrible right now?
I don't know.
Yes, it is. He said if you would have given me the legacy advantage, the edit would have been different. So he's blaming you for the edit.
Thanks. I love that I'm going to get all of this secondhand. Adam will share and then I'll hear it. Yeah, no, I do think that no matter what you do, that will truly affect your edit. And obviously I gave it to Ken. And so I think they were trying to show the relationship I had with Ken, which I did, but I also had a relationship with Adam. So that was frustrating. They kind of picked one relationship to really focus on.
Yeah. So what was the deal with you and Sunday?
I don't know, honestly. She and I clicked very quickly at the beginning. And I thought that we were going to be close and we were going to be able to play the game together. But for some reason, she couldn't separate herself from Chris and Brett, even though she had told me when we were talking about voting out Paul that she would fix any issues that they would have with us based on that vote. And then that didn't happen. She didn't fix any situation. She just basically blamed me for it, even though it was a group decision. So I'm not sure why she decided to go in that direction. And then once she did that, as the game progressed, I just saw that she wasn't trying to benefit my game or the relationship she and I had. She was never trying to fix anything between Brett and Chris and I. And that's just ultimately her decision. I'm not sure why she did it. I think she could have done very well if she had stuck with me, but she decided to stick with Brett.
I think Sunday wanted, going into the game, I mean, I think it was even in some of her pregame interviews, she talked about wanting to surround herself with alpha male types that would be bigger targets ahead of her. And so I think from the very beginning, she wanted to tie herself to guys like Chris and Brett. And I think my guess is that she, saw that they were really upset by the Paul vote, didn't want it to fall back on her, and thought that throwing it on you a little bit would sort of make her forgiven from those guys in terms of their relationship moving forward. And I think in a sense it worked, right? Because she got in really well back with them. But she sacrificed you in order to do that, basically.
Yes, but she also could have, I think, fixed the relationship between all of us and maintained the relationship with me at the same time. But she didn't do that. Instead, it was because Lucy and Sunday and I had all made that decision together. And she could have gone to them and said, we were all in this together, so let's regroup and we can still all be in this together. And I think Brett and Chris would have come along, but unfortunately,
I think
they had other
get
plans.
Closer to them, though, as a result of that.
What was that again, Adam?
I said I think that she got closer to Brett and Chris as a result of trying to vote you out. So I think it may have been possible to get you all back together, but she had a.
Yeah.
I think one of my.
So I don't know.
I think one of my favorite scenes was whenever I don't remember his name. Big guy had a heat stroke.
Did you watch the season, Paul?
3 weeks.
Taking away the super duper fan title.
Yeah,
there you go.
What the big guy with the beard and everything.
Paul.
Yeah.
Yeah. Paul.
Whenever all you girls were talking to Paul, and he's like, well, if the guys decide to go against you, I'll let you know that y'all are in trouble.
No, that's not what he said.
Yeah, I know. He said something different, so go ahead.
Well, and that was not the first time he mentioned it to me. He had said to me previously, if the guys want to do an all-guys alliance, I'm going to pat you on the back and say, good luck, kid. That was the first conversation about that. And so when I asked him about the all-guys thing, it was the same response again. It was, well, I'm going to tell you all good luck. And, and it was very clear to me that he was interested in keeping the guys together and not necessarily the girls. And so my fear was that 3. I was like, that is an extremely strong 3. And there's no breaking it up because even Chris said, Paul is the kind of guy you bring to the end of the game with you. So I knew Brett and Chris and Paul were going to be a very dangerous 3 moving forward. And then to hear Paul point blank say, we want to go all guys, we will, and good luck. I was like, okay, at least he's being honest with me, but I don't want that to happen. So I thought, we'll take control and stop that from happening.
Were you ready to move on with Ken and David and Cece at that point, or were you still trying to mend things with Chris and Brett?
I wanted to mend things. I thought that we could bring Ken and David into our group at that point, and I wasn't sure where Cece was going to fall because she was upset with me because I had voted for her. But I at least thought that we could all then work together. And I thought that Chris and Brett would be much more willing to kind of go along with what we wanted to do because they would be fearful that they would be voted out. But unfortunately, my plans failed. I had a great idea, but it didn't really follow through. But I think if Lucy and Sunday had stuck to what the plan was going to be, I think we would have been absolutely fine. And it would have been fine.
Now, I didn't have time to look back, but I actually wanted to check and see if a winner had ever been so blindsided in their first tribal council as Adam was. Now, did you have any clue that it could be Maury, or were you just solid that it was going the other way?
I feel like I tried to look that up as well. And I feel like it's only maybe ever happened like twice or something like that, where at a winner's first vote, they were on the wrong side, like maybe Fabio and someone else. I can't remember exactly. But that was a 100% total true blindside. Like, I did not see it coming at all, because what happened was I think we almost had the plan set in motion for too long, and I had done a lot of work to make sure that people were still good with the plan leading up to that day. And at the time that I talked to everybody, nobody was lying to me, because that was the plan. So my reads were accurate in the sense that for most of that time, the plan was genuinely to vote out Figgy. Now, Michelle and Jay were brilliant to do it at the last minute so that we wouldn't even notice the change. And by that point, by the afternoon after we had lost the immunity challenge, I felt confident enough about the plan that I thought the best move was to keep calm, not run around and be all paranoid and crazy, trust the people that have said that they're going to vote with me, and try to babysit Taylor and Figgy a little bit to make sure that they don't go run off looking for an idol or doing anything crazy. But while I was watching Taylor, it was actually Michelle and Jay, who I didn't take note of at all, who were actually running around changing the plan. And Taylor and Figgy themselves didn't necessarily, I didn't notice it watching them, because it wasn't necessarily them that was changing the plan.
Yeah, they were playing their own little game.
So while I thought I was babysitting Taylor, he was actually babysitting me to make sure I didn't do anything.
Right.
And so I didn't check back in with people like I should have right before tribal council. Maybe I would have picked up on something if I had tried. And so what that taught me was that you have to continue to play the round that you're in all the way up until you go to tribal council, because plans can change. And I trust my reads on people. Like, I think I have pretty decent reads on people when they're lying to me, but I never even got the chance to see if people were lying to me because I didn't even ask. So from then on, I made sure that I was playing all the way up until tribal council, even if I thought we had a solid plan and it shouldn't need confirming.
I know getting late in the game, once you get past the merge and everything, that it gets almost more stressful because you're so close. You can practically see the final tribal council being all set up, waiting for you to get there, even if it's 6 people left, 8 people left. But in the beginning, is that not super stressful because you're just now starting to play the game, but there's more people you got to cover? Like you just said, there's so many people and conversations you got to keep track of. Which is worse, the beginning or the end? I mean, getting to that point.
I think the beginning is more difficult. I think, once you get to the end, hopefully, if you've been thinking all the way through, you have some sort of plan in mind as to how you get to the end with the people that you want to get to the end with. But at the beginning, so at the end, the number of options, the number of possibilities diminishes. But at the beginning, the possibilities are almost endless. There are thousands and thousands of different ways that the game could shake out. And it's very difficult to prepare for all of them.
And you're also at the beginning.
So it's impossible to best position.
And at the beginning, you're spending so much time learning about the other people and trying to figure out what their game is going to be like, that's taking up a significant part of your decision making, because you're trying to guess, well, I'm not sure what Paul's going to do, or I'm not sure what Sunday's going to do, and you're trying to figure that out in addition to trying to figure out what you're going to do. So that takes up a lot of your thinking.
So
what you guys see on the show, what you see in the edit, is typically in a tribe, you've got 2 sort of alliances forming. And the question is, do I join this one or do I join that one?
Right.
But when you're actually playing the game, there are maybe 10 potential different alliances. And it's far more complicated than just the cool kids versus the misfits or whatever.
Right.
You don't have that distinction when you're actually playing the game.
Yeah. And in fact, did that surprise you when you got out there? I mean, were you, wow, this isn't like what I thought it was going to be like? Or were you expecting that, both of y'all?
It was weird when the game started because you really are kind of thrown on an island and given no direction other than here you are. And so when you start to see little groups of people forming relationships, then you definitely start thinking. You know, when I realized that Brett and Chris were hanging out with each other a lot, and I was forming a relationship with Sunday, and David and Ken were forming a relationship. And so all of that becomes part of the process as you move forward with trying to determine who you're going to play with. But yeah, you don't usually get to see all of that when you're watching the show, because it does always appear usually like there's two factions,
right.
And that's kind of it. You pick a side. No, because it usually starts out with little groups of people who then go to, like, for example, I was close with Sunday, and then Paul came to me to talk about getting in on a 6. And I was in shock that there was already like 6 people kind of coming together, but it was a bunch of little groups of people forming a 6. So that's I think one part that you don't usually see on the show as much as how important those initial relationships really are. And Ken and David is a perfect example of that. They became extremely close at the beginning of the game, and Ken was, with David all the way to the end and almost took him to the final 3. So those relationships at the beginning are very important, and yet it's just something that you don't necessarily know is happening.
Yeah, I think I break the game down for me too. It's 30% physical, it's 10% luck, because sometimes one luck or bad luck moment can be your game, but it's 60% social. Did you guys play the small group social game, or did you play more of the big group social game in the beginning? Did you try to do a lot of the small-sided conversations, or did the group mostly stay together?
Adam, do you want to go?
Yeah, sure. I think most of my social game was more individual, and I think that was a huge advantage to my game, because I had, I think, very strong relationships throughout, and you didn't necessarily see that on the show. I think maybe the reason they didn't show Jessica and I's relationship on the show is because they didn't really show any of my positive relationships until the whole Jay thing. Was really, Jay was really like one of the only people that they actually showed me having a relationship with, and obviously it's like it was a very interesting and complicated relationship, and so it was definitely a good one for them to choose to highlight. Right. But I had, in addition to Jessica, I had a really strong relationship with Brett and with Sunday, and Chris wanted to go to the end with me, and Will at one point wanted to go to the end with me. Obviously Hannah and Ken did. So and I think part of the reason why that was one, I made some very public blunders that people thought, this guy's going to be easy to beat, to the point where even when I was able to recover from those, they sort of still remembered the initial blunder. And I had some public sort of blowouts with people, like at Tribal Council with Taylor and Jay. And I think people remembered those, and the general consensus around camp was, the Millennials hate Adam, and he's not going to get like any of their votes at the end. But so what I was doing was I had a lot of more one-on-one relationships with people, where I think people thought that they were one of the only ones that was close with me, and most other people didn't like me. Would you say that's true, Jessica?
I think that's a good assessment. I think that you were much better at, I think, forming those relationships with people, and I was almost, because of what happened at the beginning, I was almost afraid to then get too close to people, because I'd gotten close to Sunday and then that kind of backfired on me. Right. So I think for me, the people that I was close to became more significant than really forming a strong relationship with everyone. I talked to everyone, obviously, and we had great conversations, but I really relied on, it was Adam, Ken, and David. Those were the 3 people that I was like, these are my guys. And I would have conversations with everybody, but the most significant relationships that I had were those 3, and those were the ones that I was really working on maintaining and moving forward with. So I think Adam and I were different in that regard, because he had more relationships with more people, and then would come to me and tell me information. So that was helpful for me too. And David did the same thing. So it was good to have both of them, because David would come and talk about what the Gen Xers were doing, and Adam would come and he would talk about what some of the Millennials were doing. And so it was a nice balance to have.
Speaking of
I think the theme, sorry, like I was saying earlier, the theme of this season was almost misdirection in the edit. Because like you said, Adam, they kept kind of showing you Trip, like doing things. You were Taylor's public enemy #1. Yeah, and you do this and that. And then it's like, we're holding our breath. Okay, you can talk about the advantage, but don't tell them about the idol, and then going to the different parts. And that's why I fell victim to the edit. Reading the edit subliminally, thinking Adam's like 4th or 5th. He's not going. He's playing a great game, but you know what? I watched, I think it's Bloggedissimo did the best of Adam video. It's like 22 minutes long on YouTube. And if you watch that video, it's obvious.
Wait, there's actually a best of Adam?
Yes, there is a best of Adam, and it's really good. In fact, the first thing it shows is Probst saying you in the maroon. I'm Adam. Because Adam, he's Probst. That's the very first thing you see, and it's great. But see, that's another thing about this season I liked, was that people did what fans wanted them to do. You guys took out the big targets, and you talked the way that we would think we would talk in certain situations. And I love that. I love when Adam got to explain his final, plan was to be in control, but don't be a target. And that's the way to slip through Survivor. And people kept putting their necks out there, being in control. And it seemed so obvious. And Adam's like, yeah, they're in control. Yeah, they just ran that vote over there. Boom, they're gone. And that's what Survivor's supposed to be. People called it mediocrity, but that's not mediocrity. That's playing Survivor. Don't stick your neck out unless you want to get it chopped off. And that's one thing I really liked about this season. It almost came out of nowhere, but it really didn't if you watch the Best of Adam video. But it almost came out of nowhere that it got to the end that it did, which is what made it so good. Plus, this cast was extremely likable. There was a ton of people that I would like to see play again from this cast. Nice. And that's another reason why I love this season. But I really enjoyed the edit and how
second chances.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Second chances. Yes. And I got to add in here, one of the things that I actually said to Adam, which they didn't show in the final tribal when I was asking both him and Ken questions, was I explained just that to Adam, that he found that sweet spot. He found the sweet spot that so many people in this game find it impossible to find, because you're either a huge target because you're making all the moves, or you're a goat. And he managed to find the middle ground and knew exactly what was going on, knew exactly where people were, and knew exactly who he needed to get to the end with. So he really played an incredibly impressive game as far as that area that people can't seem to find in Survivor, and he did a great job with it. So I actually brought that up in my final tribal with him.
Nice. I think the clearest moment where I deliberately made a decision to not step forward, that I talked quite a bit about at Final Tribal Council, was the Sunday vote. I had the safe plan in my mind was obviously to actually vote for Jay, because Jay is this guy who has proven over and over again that if you're not actually voting for him, he's not going to play his idol. So we have to actually vote for him in order for him to play his idol. Then Dave would go home, and then we'd be able to get rid of Jay. And then the final 5 would be me, Ken, and Hannah with Brett and Sunday. All people who I thought I could beat, but Ken and Hannah were, pretty much thought they would beat me. So they would still want to go to the end with me over Brett and Sunday. That was my plan. And that may have been like the most perfect outcome for me in terms of my game moving forward. But if I had said, no, it has to be this way, then maybe Ken and Hannah decide, you know what, actually, maybe Adam is more of a threat than we thought. He controlled that vote, right? Like that was his plan. So then people's brains start, and maybe Brett and Sunday start saying that. And once those thoughts enter people's heads, it's hard to get rid of them. So I was like, all right, I'm not going to push this one. This is going to be an okay plan voting out Sunday as long as Jay plays his idol. And I felt confident enough that we had sort of convinced Jay to play his idol that we could go ahead and do this, even though it wasn't my plan and I knew I wouldn't get credit for it at the end.
Right. I guess that's
And you don't want credit for that move anyway, because I think it came across as nonsensical to so many people.
Yeah.
So the way that you played it, I think, was perfect, because everyone looked at Hannah and thought, why on earth did you just vote out Sunday like that? And she was very proud of that move, and she talked about it a lot at the final tribal, and I think we were all kind of scratching our heads about that. So I think it worked out really well for you.
Yeah, there's always that balance of how much do I want to control without risking looking like I'm in control.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And that's what you're talking about. You know, I imagine that's a difficult balance to maintain, and winners usually have figured out a way to do that.
And how can you get other people to propose the idea that you already want? So like the Will vote, I knew that after Will flipped to our side, that Sunday and Brett would be pissed off at him, and that they would even throw his name out. And sure enough, they did that, and basically, you know, it was their idea, but I also knew that would be their idea, and sought them out to make sure that that's what they wanted to do.
I like to call getting people to do what you want them to do a Spradlin. That's kind of what I like to refer, but in honor of Kim Spradlin. But anyway,
Klein.
I think
it's a Klein.
No, it was a Spradlin until this season. This season, instead of calling it the sweet spot, we call it the Klein. So, but I like that description of this season.
You guys are
finding the sweet spot. That's a really good thing. I think one other thing that was interesting this season was that you pretty much oozed honesty. You were so honest with Taylor. You didn't have to have that conversation with him, but you did after the Figgy vote.
Yeah.
I know it was part of your plan, but still it was honest. And then you and Jay which was my favorite conversation of the whole season in the hammock. That was just like the most honest. I love you, man, like a brother, but you are in my way. I can't win with you in the game. And there was so much, and it wasn't just you, it was other people as well. There was so much honesty this season. There was respect when people left the game, you know, and that was just something else. It just makes this game so good and fun to see people playing it. They get it. You know, when Jay left the game, he's like, I hate you guys. You got me, but I love you. I'll see you shortly. You know,
he had the best exit. His exit was great.
It was so good. Do you think, was that part of your, was that you, or was that part of your game to be so honest at different points? Was that, I think it's mostly you.
Yeah, right from the very beginning, you know, one of my sort of mottos in confessional was truth has power in this game, or truth has power in general. And if you can, you know, on the truth that they don't see necessarily, that's way more powerful, I think, than telling a lie. And I wanted to be as straightforward as absolutely possible, so that when I, you know, and when I said I was going to do something, that people would see that I would follow through on it, like going to Rocks.
Thanks.
Yeah, sorry.
He's got to add that in, doesn't he? Every 30 minutes, we got to say the word Rocks.
Yeah, just say Rocks.
I think one example of when that sort of honesty paid off for me that you didn't see on the show was with Will. Because as you saw on the show, I gunned for Will at the beginning of the merge. And there were a few reasons why I did that. The main reason was because I thought he was the person that Taylor would be most likely to want to vote out of that group. And the reason being was, one, that Taylor saw how close Will and Jay were, and I thought he was a little bit jealous potentially. And two, Will came to Taylor and told Taylor that at the immunity challenge before Figgy went home, that Will had leaned over to me and told me to vote out Ken. Now, what actually happened at that challenge was that as the challenge was going on, Will whispered to me, vote Figgy. Him and Michaela, and what I thought at the time was Jay, were all telling me, vote Figgy during that immunity challenge. And so ultimately, I do vote out Figgy, and we come back, and now Will's lying about what he said to me. And I out him for that in front of other people, and he admits basically that he lied. And so it was something for Taylor and I to bond over, the fact that Will had lied to Taylor about me. And so it was a reason to potentially target him. Should I have named Will as a target? No. Obviously, in retrospect, that was a mistake, and it came back to potentially almost bite me in the butt. But after that vote, I went back to Will, and I think it's easy in that situation where you've already gone after someone to be like, okay, I've already voted for them. Now I just need to get rid of them. Like, they're never going to trust me, whatever. And instead, I went to Will, and I told him 100% the truth of why I targeted him. Because, you know, and he respected that to the point where we were able to then, from that point on, kind of rebuild a relationship. We voted together a couple times. And then when it got to the final 9, he flipped because he wanted to work with me and go to the end with me and Hannah. And even after the Ken test, Will flipped back to the other side and only came back and voted with us because of a conversation that I had with him where I was like, look, the pendulum strategy, your strategy here to take out all the big targets is a good one. We just need to stick to the plan. We can get rid of Ken later on. And it was because we had rebuilt that relationship and I had been straightforward with him that he trusted me at that point, even when that was my biggest line in the game.
Nice. Wow.
He's very impressive, isn't he?
So the first time you guys got to meet was at the swap, right? When y'all got on the same tribe?
Yeah.
So what was it about you two that connected so quick? You said you guys, did you hit it off right away? Did it take a little while?
It was interesting when we were coming back after we had swapped and we were traveling back to camp. I just remember like kind of assessing my situation, and I was looking at the 5 of us, and I looked at Adam and I was like, he's going to be my guy. There was just something about him that I knew. I'm like, I think Figgy and Taylor are close, and I'm not sure about, I mean, they had seemed a little more outgoing and a little more looking for attention, and Adam wasn't like that. He was just kind of there and more reserved, and I think paying attention more. And so for me, I was like, that's going to be my guy. And by the time we got back to camp, I think we were there for all of like, I don't know, 20 minutes. And Adam was like, anyone want to go swimming? So I was like, yeah, I'll go swimming. And we walked over and nobody came with us. And we just spent the next like 45 minutes, it felt like, just talking and just really like, I mean, it was really quick where Adam was like, I want to work with you. And I was like, I want to work with you. And it just worked. It was like we both saw it and we both realized it really quickly. So it was great. It worked out fantastically well.
I think Jessica and I both sort of had our eye on each other as someone that we wanted to work with even before the game ever started. Like, there was one point where we were going to film our first like on-camera interview, and it was like pouring rain, and we were in this boat for like an hour, and it was so miserable, and everyone was getting sick, and everyone had to pee because we've been drinking all this water to try to pre-hydrate for like not having water. And so it's miserable, and there's this like thing hanging down that's like hitting Jessica in the head, right? That was you, right?
Yes.
And you know, we just sort of like, obviously we couldn't talk, but I think I got the feeling that this was someone that I could work with potentially.
Well, in pregame, the nickname that I gave to Adam was that guy, and I gave him and I gave him that nickname because in my observations of him, he appeared to be someone who, like, if you're at a party, you're not threatened to go speak to him, but you're intrigued to go talk to him, and he's someone that doesn't like rub you the wrong way when you're, and I was basing a lot of it on jury selection, but I would totally put Adam on my jury because he just emanates something it's not threatening and it's not intimidating. It's approachable. And so that was my nickname for Adam, was that guy. And because he's just someone that you can certainly have a conversation with and welcome the next conversation. That was my impression I got. So that was the nickname that he had.
He was in that sweet spot.
It's like Adam is the guy at the bar where you go, oh, he probably has a good personality. Is that what?
Yeah, like, I mean, he's approachable. Like, he's approachable, and he's someone who I just felt like was being very honest and true about who he was. Like, he didn't walk in there and try to put on a front or try to act differently than I think he really was. And that to me speaks volumes. When you can just present yourself in a manner that this is how you are, I think it spoke a lot to me.
I think we were both drawn to his preseason confessionals because I remember them being so vibrant and so alive and just full of such a powerful spirit that he was so excited to get out there and play. And I would feel the same way. Now, I warned you guys we were going to bounce around. We weren't going to go in any order. But I want to go back to the beginning that you were just talking about. How soon did y'all see anybody on your season before the game started? And did you make any preseason judgments on people? Like, you called him that guy, so you were drawn to him then. But like, I made some preseason misstatements about people, obviously. But did you? That was my one tweet this year that I apologize. So anyway, no, I thought she was going to be too smart and people were going to get rid of her because of her job and just the way she talked and everything. I thought she'd be seen that way. But anyway, pre-game, did you guys, because we know that sometimes y'all get to sit in the same room, you get to be in the same area.
Yeah.
Was there anybody you picked out and said, besides Adam, that guy, was there anybody else you picked out and said, oh, I want to work with that person, or, oh, that person I can't trust? Is there anybody that you made prejudgments on that you might have been wrong or that you might have been right? Do you remember?
I made nicknames for everybody. But maybe Adam wants to jump in here before I start giving away my nicknames for people.
No, go for it. I'll follow you. Go ahead.
Yeah, I can say I was honestly scared of Mari. Like, when I saw Mari, there was something about her that I thought, she had a great smile, but that girl will cut you. Like, I don't know what it was about Mari, but there was something about her that I was like, she's going to be dangerous. And it wasn't like I was intimidated by her. Like, I thought she was truly an intimidating presence. So that was definitely one that I was worried about. And then obviously we weren't in the same tribe. And then I never even got to play the game with her, but I've since met her and spoken to her, and she's fantastic. Like, she's a great person. But that was my initial inclination of Mari.
What was her nickname? Cutter?
I think I just called her angry. I'm like, she just appeared, she appeared. There was but I do remember specifically referencing that I thought she was angry, but smile was what threw me off. So I had this weird but yeah, it was I was like, great smile, but she will cut you. Like, I remember.
So do you do that with your clients too? Do you give them nicknames? My name's Phil. No, your name's Guilty. That's what I'm going to call you.
I don't have clients. Remember, I'm a prosecutor.
That's right.
Prosecutor. She calls everybody guilty.
They're all guilty.
You see this stone? The last guy that lied to me used to be this. Now he's a stone. So don't lie to me.
Let's go to rocks again. Why don't we talk about rocks?
It's been 15 minutes.
It's fun, yeah. So rocks. So it's funny that Jeff talked about Mari. I had the total kind of opposite impression of Mari. Not that I didn't think that she was going to be strong in the game. By the way, you guys are all frozen, so I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes,
yeah,
I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, great. So I saw Mari and I was like, this is the person that I want to work with. I thought she would be on my tribe because when we did press stuff, she was wearing the same colors as me. So I was like, all right, this is the type of person that I think is going to fit in well in any type of group. And so I guess maybe Jessica and I had a different approach to that, because it sounds like we maybe had the same impression of Mari, but I wanted to align with that person, right? If there's someone that I think is going to be powerful in the game, or wield some kind of strong weapon and be able to get rid of people, I want them to trust me more than anyone else. So I went to the game and knew that I wanted Mari to be my sort of ride or die on my tribe, and she was definitely my first ally. And I was so wrong. I was like, she's gonna for sure be in the majority, whatever it is, and instead she got targeted. But it was the thought that counts, right?
By the way, she thought I was a UFC person. That's what she I found that out after the game. Her notes on me were that I was in the UFC. So I was like, I'll take that.
Some of my other thoughts on people, I thought that Paul was also someone that was going to be a strong personality that was going to gun after people. So I sat next to Paul as much as I could. I ate lunches and dinners next to him. I wanted him to feel like he could use me as one of his like pawns in the game. So I was disappointed I never got the chance to play with Paul. Chris scared me for sure. Chris scared me during pregame, but then Chris scared me even more during the opening, during the marooning, that I haven't talked about on any of the other podcasts so far. The Millennials did not take the chickens. We did not take the chickens.
I'm not getting involved in this one. Jessica's out.
You don't want to go. I mean,
you won, so have at it.
To this day, every single millennial claims that they didn't take the chickens. And when I watched it back carefully, I think you can actually see like Lucy grabbing our chickens and putting it on, or just grabbing them. So some of our stuff ended up on the Gen X mat. And I was like, hey, they have like 2 sets of pots and pans, or they have our chickens, or whatever it was. And I said that out loud to like production, like, hey, can we, move that stuff over to our thing? 'Cause they have it. And Chris looks me dead in the eyes. He says, snitches get stitches.
Oh. Wow.
Oh my word.
I was like, oh my God. And from that moment on, I was like terrified of Chris. And then, fast forward like 39 days and he's being like my attorney on the jury.
Yeah.
And he's actually like the sweetest guy ever. But he uses his, his physical size, presence to really intimidate people, and it worked.
Wow.
That's funny. That's really funny.
Wow. So how about Jessica, any other first impressions and nicknames that you want to share?
Yeah, I shared the idea about Paul. Paul was very outgoing. He was the one person that really didn't follow the rules at all. Like, we weren't supposed to talk, and we weren't supposed to really like interact, and Paul was constantly trying to find ways to do that. So wow. I thought that, I'm like, Paul would be a good person to play the game with. And I called him, I have to remember now, it was like, I want to say Captain Bill, but I think I might be getting the name wrong. But there's one of the fishing shows. He looked just like one of the captains on the fishing show.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that was the nickname I had for him. But I decided
like most dangerous catch or whatever. Is that what
it
is?
Deadliest catch.
Deadliest catch. I called him Deadliest Catch Rupert.
Yeah, well, he was. Yeah. Well, there's a captain on there that he looks exactly like.
It is Bill, because he's got his son on the boat with him. Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
So that was his nickname, and he was definitely someone that I thought I could work with, because he will put himself out there, and I won't necessarily have to. So he was someone that I was gravitating towards very much. David, I was very hesitant about, because he presented himself in a very kind of closed off manner, and wasn't really trying to interact with a whole lot of people. And he reminded me very much of Lex Luthor. So,
wow, that's good.
But he was Kevin Spacey playing Lex Luthor. That was how I explained him when I was.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
But so that was kind of funny. But like people like Michelle and Figgy, I was watching quite a bit, because they had very genuine smiles and seemed like they were just so friendly with everybody that they looked at and everybody that they interacted with. And I thought that could be dangerous, because if they're really personable and really friendly, then people would want to play the game with them or get to know them. And so those were 2 people that I was definitely concerned with as well, just because of the way that they presented themselves, and just such an open, like friendly fashion with these great smiles. So they were 2 that I was definitely watching quite a bit as well. I wasn't sure how that was going to play out.
I like your thought of Paul mentioning that Paul would speak out when they weren't supposed to, because I could see Paul in a room going, "Hey, can I wink at her? Is that okay? Can I fist bump him? Can I fist bump? Can I high five that guy over there? I can't do any of that. Okay, well, if I could, I would, but
that is a perfect explanation. Yes, that's the kind of stuff that he would. Yes, absolutely. And it was so funny because he was constantly getting called out on it. So yeah, that was the other person too that I really wanted to work with was actually Sunday. Sunday's nickname was Cookie Mom. So I thought, you know what, we could be mom strong, and she and I can work together and do great things with. And, you know, we got each other's attention a few times. She had, she winked at me. So I was like, all right, I think, we could do this. But yeah, so she was someone I was definitely wanting to work with was Sunday.
Yeah. By the way, I liked how you guys already tweeted about the chickens.
That's right.
It wasn't you guys. It was that guy.
It was that guy.
It was that guy.
You said it was exclusive.
It was that guy. It wasn't me.
Yep. There you go.
So
I didn't do it.
Because I watched the Best of Adam video. It's 22 minutes long. It's really good. If you watch it, you know he's going to win. But anyway, I didn't get to go back and watch the premiere. I wanted to watch the scene where you found the legacy advantage.
Yeah.
And what drew you to that spot? What was it? The camera still focusing on that spot, or did you just go where Lucy was, or did you see the envelope?
No, it was an opposite direction of where everybody else seemed to be going, because by the time, I had run over and grabbed a few things, and I noticed everybody was over there. And so I was like, I'm going to go over here because there's nobody left over there. And I hadn't seen Lucy running away from that direction, but they were literally all over on this side. And when I went over there, I just saw it, and I immediately, you freak out in your head because this is something good. And I was just hoping that nobody saw me actually put it in my back, and thank God nobody had. But yeah, that was my reason for going that direction, was everybody seemed to be heading in the other direction. So It worked out, except I didn't get to use it.
If there was a Best of Jessica video, my wife wouldn't let me watch it. So.
No, I checked. It wasn't up yet.
Ponderosa video. It was like
somebody.
It was like a swimsuit thing.
Oh, my Ponderosa! It was great. I loved my Ponderosa. It was great.
Her Ponderosa was a workout video. That's what Ponderosa was. She found a six-pack and wasn't going to let it go at Ponderosa.
I know. I'm telling you, that was a big deal for me. That was a big deal. I have a mother. I have two children. I have a six-pack at the age of 37. I'll take it. Yeah. Thank you.
No. She's still got to serve on the jury, right? She can't just work out the whole time she's there. She's still got to be on the jury. Right, she knows. Okay.
And now you have an advantage over all those male defense lawyers, because they're all over on Survivor. Oh no,
Dwaine, I hope you're getting all the questions in the chat room, because they're logging them in.
No, I told them that we're not okay. Just program note then. When Adam says, "Guys, I got 30 more minutes," then we'll start taking questions in the chat room. We're not remembering all these questions. Yeah. We're not. We keep.
So I'm really gonna bounce. I'm really gonna bounce from the beginning to the end. Jessica, with the temperature of the jury and where they stood, gauging the jury, who do you think wins between Jay and David? If it's Jay, David, and Hannah or Ken, who do you think wins between Jay and David with the conversations that have been going on?
Between Jay and David, honestly, I think it might have been a tie. I really think that we could have seen a tie, because there were so many people that had a strong relationship with Jay and just respected him so much as a person, in addition to his gameplay. And then there were so many people that really respected David's gameplay, even though he might have done things to upset them, because, like Chris, he took Chris out. But it was still one of those situations where there was so much respect for how he was playing the game. But I think that would be. I've gone through the numbers, and I really think that it could have been a tie. That one really could have been a tie. Absolutely. Which would have been amazing.
I agree with that, and I think that if I had to guess what the outcome of a tied vote at Final Tribal would be, I would guess that third place would then cast the deciding vote, which in my mind would mean that Dave would probably win the game in a tiebreaker if it got to a tie, because he would be at the end with Hannah or Ken, and I think that they would probably vote for Dave.
Yeah. So you're saying that you think, because we know that they know who wins before Probst walks off and says, see you in a year. But so you're saying that they would come back and go, y'all, it's a tie. And right here.
Potentially.
Because
that's my guess.
Either that or they do it at the live reunion.
Could you imagine?
And Adam's in the winners club. Adam gets to go to the exclusive club. There's only like 33 people. So he gets to see, all these little decisions. So I like that idea that the third place person gets to break the tie.
That would be.
Well, you didn't get any votes, so you go sit on the jury and you cast the last vote.
Yeah.
I don't know what me being a winner has to do with any of that, but I'll take it.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
You're on the inside. He's on the inside.
I don't think that gets me on the inside.
Fire making challenge at the CBS studios. Live.
Oh, Dave wins that all day long. So yeah, Dave's winning a fire making challenge. Sure.
So how paranoid was he at the beginning?
He was so paranoid, and it was interesting because the change that I saw in him when he played the idol to save me was like it was really incredible. And I described him as this. I hate to repeat myself in another podcast, but he's like Kaiser Sose. Like that's kind of what David became, because he presented himself as this very meek and self-deprecating and scared man who couldn't listen to someone chop wood, and the birds would freak him out, and like everything scared him. And then by the end, he was afraid of nothing, and he owned tribal council. When he was in tribal council, he was a completely different person, and it was amazing to see. But at the beginning, yeah, he was incredibly paranoid. One funny story about him: we were only a few days in, and because he was afraid of everything, he'd gotten up in the middle of the night he went to go to the bathroom, and Paul decided that he was going to hide in the bushes to scare him. And of course, you can't see anything because it's pitch black. And so Paul goes near the path, and he's like in the bushes, and Dave comes walking back, and he jumps out and screams. And the scream that he let out was the funniest thing ever. Completely scared the bejesus out of him. And it was just one of those moments where, I mean, we were laughing so hard because we knew that David was probably going to like pee himself, right, because he was so afraid. But that was David at the beginning, and he completely changed. Can
I also say that David is an incredible karaoke singer?
Oh,
he really is. Yeah, I'm telling you, that guy's an actor. He is an actor.
I call him.
We were convinced. We were convinced at Ponderosa that he was going to come out of the game, and he was like some, secret operative, like FBI agent. We're like, he is going to have some crazy job, covert operations, kind of, because of the way that he was. We're like, it doesn't make sense. Like he doesn't just write for Family Guy or TV. Like he is something much more sinister.
He's too impressive to have that little confidence. I think that's the main idea.
The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist. So that's a Kaiser Soze quote that comes from Usual Suspects. So I love that movie. That's one of my top 10 movies.
It's a great movie.
It got to the point with David, though, towards after the merge, it almost seemed like he'd sandbagged the first half of the season. He had changed so much. He was physically a threat. He was doing well in challenges. Mm-hmm. He was playing the game like a manipulator. So it almost seemed like it's not really the same guy that started the game afraid of bamboo, and afraid of anybody swinging a machete. So that was the great story arc that you had talked about if he was in the final, that he come that far. And on the other side, earlier on, we had Zeke talk about how Jay was everybody's friend. Everybody liked Jay, and Jay was so popular and so kind and so good at the end that was an opposite story arc, but it was still a positive story arc to get those two guys at the end. And when those two were sitting at the table with Adam at that reward, I was like, man, if these three go to the end, it's going to be one of the most epic final tribal councils we've ever seen. The jury's going to fight over who to vote for.
Yeah.
Likeable, hard-playing guys. That would be epic. And sure enough, Adam kills that idea by knocking them out of the game.
That sounds great for you guys and terrible for me.
It does.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, sorry, Adam. That would have been rough. For you.
As a fan, he would vote for it, but as a player, nah.
Yeah. I would have voted for them over me. Like, if I would have been so stupid as to take them to the end, I would have deserved to lose.
Right.
Well, and one thing too that Jay said at Ponderosa, it was like he said to David, he's like, I was going to bring you to the end with me because that would have been an epic battle and it would have been a showdown. And he's like, and I would have loved it. I mean, Jay was like, yeah, we should have done that. Like he was very excited about the prospect of that.
Jay, yeah, I mean, and Jay wanted to go to the end with me, and I was like, that sounds great for you.
Yeah.
I see no upside to taking you to final tribal.
I appreciate you offering me. I
end.
appreciate you offering me second or third place.
Yes.
All right, so we had Ryan Kaiser who won the Durham Warriors Challenge last season. I think he was on the episode of the Loved Ones Visit, and he mentioned, or somebody mentioned, maybe it wasn't that one, but he mentioned. I remember what he talked about. It was David seeming kind of overconfident at his tribal council that he got voted out. And do you think he had an idea that Kim was going to flip on him at that point?
No, he didn't.
And I wasn't even there, but I know.
Every single vote in our season, except for the very first one, and Jessica can correct me on that one if I'm wrong, and the Taylor vote, were total blindsides. And I include Jay's vote, even though he knew he was getting votes because he thought he had a real idol and that he wasn't going home. So consider that a blindside. But literally every single other vote was a blindside.
Yeah, I was going to say that earlier in the show. Like there were more blindsides in this season that I've ever seen. Like true ones, because sometimes they say blindside and it's not really a blindside.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The only two people that even had any suspicion that they were going home were I think Rachel and Taylor.
Yeah.
And and Rachel, I think only got an indication that she was going home at tribal council. That was when she started to finally think that maybe she was the one getting voted for. Because walking into tribal council, I don't think she thought she was.
Yeah. Yeah. So I have learned a long time ago not to ask if you saw a certain episode of ours. So I'm not going to ask you that, Adam. But
I may have.
But I'm not going to ask you that. But when you threw that, when you lost that family visit challenge.
Oh God.
Okay.
I know. Go in the other way.
This is what I was trying to remember. Go ahead, Dwayne. Go ahead.
David and I had a big old knockout blowout because I said you got the Oscar for the best actor.
You said
you totally threw that challenge.
Right.
And this was how you played your advantage. And you played it perfectly.
I remember that.
And you liked it on Twitter.
Yeah, I remember that. And you are wrong.
See, I had information later that actually you were stuck and had to get assistance to get out of that spot.
Yeah, everyone knew he was stuck. Brett and Sunday had to dig me out. I did not throw that challenge, but shouting
Thank
out.
you.
It's true.
It would have been a better story if you'd blown it.
My brother.
Yeah, that's just because you would have been right.
If you ever want him to guest make a cameo, he's here. So.
All right. Hey, let's see him.
All right. Tell Evan he did great.
Evan, come here.
Great.
Come be on the podcast. Come on.
Dude, you're going to get on national television.
Yeah.
All 30 people that are watching this, they'll see you.
We have more than 30.
Jessica,
you can unplug your headphones if you want.
Hi, Evan.
Yeah, I did.
Hey,
how
Evan.
are you?
So, Evan, can you hear me?
I can, yeah.
I'm not buying it. I'm thinking he got himself stuck on purpose.
Let's go with that.
Yeah.
If you had been able to hear the screams that I heard, they went on for 15 minutes, maybe more, just constant yelling and screaming. I think didn't Jeff at one point say you sounded like a caged animal?
Yeah.
Evan's like, I've heard those screams. He's not faking.
Yeah.
I've heard those screams before. I've caused those screams before.
I saw him get dug out of that.
Oh my God, it's so funny.
Well, didn't you learn anything from watching Leaf?
I know. I realized my mistake as I was stuck underneath that log. So
yeah,
Leaf.
Gotta go the other way.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Okay, so you
But
didn't. Okay, but did you manipulate how you used it so that it would benefit you? It seems like
You want to be right about this. I love it.
every week.
Well,
Every
okay,
week.
because that advantage is a death wish for you,
Yeah.
and yet you made it work, and it ended up helping you.
Yes, definitely.
Was
So-
any of that your doing, or was it pure accident?
So a lot of people have asked this question, like, yeah, a lot of people have asked, like, is this strategic? Was this just, what you wanted to do? You genuinely couldn't take their loved one's visit away or whatever. And it absolutely was both. 100% it was strategic, and 100% it was true to my character. So, people, I think, you guys included, and a lot of people who watched the show try to decide, was this genuine or was this strategic? And I don't understand why it can't just be both.
No, it can be both.
Because, I think that's the best way to play the game. You have to be yourself. You have to be true to the person that you are, but you also have to be thinking about the implications of the actions that you take.
Right.
And so I was thinking, since the very moment I opened that advantage, how do I use this in a way that won't be damaging to my game? And so I wanted to think creatively about it. And I took some calculated risks with it. Like,
Right.
Taylor, I actually also told Jessica, by the way. Jessica was the only other person who knew about it.
I did. I knew about that and your idol. I was the only one.
Jessica knew everything. What I thought was, I have a strong 6-person alliance. I need a 7th in a tribe of 13. Taylor has just shown that he trusts me by stealing this food literally in front of me. Because like I said before, the edit was misleading. I was already on the beach with him having like a secret midnight, like secret alliance conversation that we had had a few nights in a row. So we had been rebuilding trust. He decides to do this in front of me, so nobody else knows about it. He's essentially sharing this secret with me, which means that he trusts me a little bit. So then I want to show him something back. I definitely don't want to tell him about the idol. And I think maybe if I tell this, even if it gets out, people have a much bigger secret that I'm not revealing. I was thinking the whole way through, how can I play this in such a way that it's not going to damage my game?
Yeah. How much of his food did you actually eat?
I did not eat all of it. one bite of that food.
You were like so upset at the rival. You were like, wait a second.
Again, this was another time where strategy and who I am as a person came together because, one, I wanted to defend myself in the context of the game, but then two, I work for a homeless shelter nonprofit, like I work in public service, and that I can't have people thinking that that's the type of person that I am that's going to like actively like steal food from hungry people.
So this Butterfinger for the homeless, I'm going to eat it.
So some people were like, why did he have to get so defensive or whatever? Because I was defensive. Because I literally needed to defend myself attempts. So, yeah.
So, Evan, how cool was it being out there, man? Was it pretty awesome?
Oh, it was super cool. I mean, the fact that Adam got on Survivor was like incredible beyond anything. The fact that I ended up on Survivor is like beyond personal like comprehension, right? Like just being out there, like, and in addition to being out there and like having the experience of like being on the show and everything, the group of people that I was with was really incredible. All the other loved ones, and I also got to hang out with Jessica's husband, Aaron. It's such a good group of people, and I think that carried over to the cast as well. And I've met pretty much all of them now, and it's just a really great group of people. I think Evan's only regret is that he didn't find the idol for me.
Yeah.
I was going to say that as good as an episode as it turned out to be for Adam, unfortunately, Evan spent more time with Mr. Jessica over those 39 days than Jessica did. So it was probably a bad episode for Jessica. So he was out there and you missed him by one
day.
Yeah.
One travel.
I was beyond
1 day.
crushed when I found out. Like we were at tribal council and Jeff had gone through all of his discussions and his questions, and all of a sudden he was like, oh, you know what? One more thing. And he looks at Hannah and he says, Hannah, so the loved ones visit. And as soon as I heard that, I lost it, because I knew how long it takes you to get to Fiji from New York. And so I knew, I'm like, my husband is here. Like, my husband is in Fiji. And I was so upset I left. Like, I walked off, the set, because I was just beyond devastated. And then afterwards, Jeff did come over and talk to me, and he confirmed that, yeah, Aaron was there, and that I wasn't able to see him because they need, to maintain the integrity of the game, which I understand. But in that moment,
unless you're
it's still, oh God, it was awful, because I'm like, my husband's in Fiji. Like, he's literally in Fiji.
He's in the hut next to you.
Right? Like, like he's
You
right
can hear
over
him
here.
snoring, but you can't go over it.
So, oh God, and my husband is still like, it's hard. I mean, and that episode was actually really difficult to watch. Like, I don't think that he realized it was going to be as hard as it was, but when we watched it together, I mean, we were all crying. We were all a mess, because it was the realization of what could have been and what wasn't. And he traveled, all that way for a huge letdown, like to find out your wife lost the game and you don't get to see her. So now you get to go home. So yeah, it was hard.
Yeah,
especially the way you went home. I mean, it's such a bummer.
Don't say it. Say it. Don't say it.
You can do it. It's been like 15 minutes, right?
It's such a bummer to not be voted out, but have to.
Actually, then you can claim I was never voted out. So.
Oh, well, and that's true. I can say, but it's weird because I was kind of voted out, but then I was saved by an idol.
You got one vote. Yeah, you got one Black Rock vote.
Yeah.
It's funny because
So really, you and Adam are like equals, because you never got voted out either.
There we go. Except he got $1 million for it. I got a rock.
He got 10 votes. He got 10 ballots. She got one Black Rock. So there's not.
I didn't say that you got the same prize.
But we're equal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I remember that moment when Jeff brought it up, and I immediately looked over at Jessica, because the whole, when we got the tree mail, and I was like, I think this is going to be the loved ones. It didn't say anything about loved ones, but it just said something about a feast as the reward, and I was like, it's not just a feast. And the whole day I was thinking about Jessica, and I was like, God, and I was thinking about it. Had that been me, like how I would have reacted, and how I jeopardized like his chance to, be out there and see me. And there's so many, it's such a devastating like train of thought. And then, I knew that we would talk about it at Tribal Council, and it would just be absolutely crushing to Jessica. And I remember the moment that Jessica realized that her husband was actually there, because it was critical to my game, actually. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the moment that Jessica actually realized, like, oh my God, he was actually here, was when Will got up to vote. And Will's vote was the most important because he was the swing vote. And my plan was to watch him like a hawk to see how he voted. And I got distracted because Jessica had this realization, and then I just was looking at her, and I was like, oh my God, like I felt so bad.
That was when I left. When Will got up to vote was when I left. I was like, I'm not sitting, because I knew I was such a mess, and I was like, I'm not going to sit here. So I walked out. Yeah, so I screwed you up.
Didn't you walk out before, and then you came back, and then you had that realization?
No, I walked out. I waited until Jeff was done talking about it with the group, and I was crying. And then when the voting started is when I walked out, because I didn't want to leave until they were voting because I was like, all right, I don't need to watch them, walk up and cast their votes. So yeah, and then I came back.
I did not watch Will vote like I had intended to, but Hannah and Dave did. And one thing that you didn't see on the show, and that Will for some reason didn't take credit for in his that I mentioned on one of the other podcasts, was that he wrote Zeke on the parchment, and then in the air he wrote an A and an H, like he was writing it on the parchment, but he wasn't, because he wanted everyone to think that he was writing down Hannah's name. So nice. Hannah saw that and Dave saw that, and they were like, oh, that's when they said, I'm going home. And Dave was like, yep, Hannah, he just voted for you. And I was like, really? Because at that point I was sure Will was with us. And I was not going to play my idol. And I almost didn't even bring it to tribal council because I was immune and I didn't have a place to put it. But I was like, at the last minute, I was like, whatever, I'll just bring it just in case. Put it in my pants. And then they're like, Hannah's going home for sure. He just voted for Hannah. And so I played it, and Will absolutely flushed my idol in that moment by doing it in the air.
Yeah. Thank you for that moment of giving Probst an idol that came out of nowhere. So that was a great moment from this season.
Yeah.
Did that make his video?
You pull stuff off the
yes, it did. It made his video. That's one of the highlights.
I tried to buy my crotch idol in the eBay auction, but I think I may have unintentionally raised the price significantly by pulling it out of my crotch.
Oh,
Dwaine,
you really don't want to know who bought that, really.
That's disturbing.
It's best not to know who bought it,
Don't you see it hanging on Dwayne's shelf back there?
Yeah. You're going to get a letter. I look at your crotch idol every night.
Oh, someone's
Oh, Adam, come on. Oh.
Family friendly.
That's right. So bad.
Wow.
Oh, my word.
What fun. What fun.
I think maybe Probst bought it back. Oh, man.
So I got one more question for Evan. Did you experience, or we've heard before that the loved ones are in their own rooms and wherever the hotel or resort they're at, and there's a point at night where someone comes down the hall and there's a knock on one door, and that's the loved one that's leaving. Did you? We won't say who it was because we know who it was. But did you experience that? Did you hear the knock?
Everybody.
That's right. No spoilers.
We won't spoil it.
So we were asked.
Are you just being mean now? Come on.
No. Go ahead, Evan.
So we were asked if we wanted to be. She said she was the casting person that was with us said she would notify the person who their loved one was voted out. But she also asked the rest of us and said, do you want to know at night or do you want to know in the morning? Because I'll come tell you after tribal council that when you're going out there tomorrow. So that tribal council was insanely long, I imagine, because of the rock draw and everything like that. We didn't find out until it felt like, I don't know, 1 or 2 in the morning or something like that.
Seriously?
Yeah, it was really late. And
couldn't have been that late for us.
Maybe, I don't know, but I don't know that they came immediately.
Right.
I also found out last. She went to every person before me.
Oh, you found out last.
Just to let you know, I think Dwayne's tweeting an Evan exclusive. I think we just heard that for the first time. So.
I would have gotten a notification. I don't see it. So yeah, we did find out the night of, but we didn't know whose loved one had gone home.
Right.
We just knew for me, for example, I knew that Adam had made it. And then at breakfast the next morning, we had all assumed that the person who wasn't going to go out there just wasn't going to come to breakfast. And so when we saw 9 of us at the table, we were like, oh, it's Jay's sister, Melanie, who's not at the table yet. Jay must have gotten voted off.
But then you saw
like, wait, what? And then Aaron kind of broke down and told us, and he was
stabbed his food.
So devastated, like that.
Gosh.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine. All right, let's move. Yeah, poor Jessica. We don't want to talk.
No, it's terrible. I mean, it's sad. It's very sad.
Yeah, but when your second chance comes, he'll be back out there.
That's
again,
right.
so.
And then maybe they'll do like, we could do blood versus water. Wouldn't that be great?
The tribes will be rock, paper, scissors. They'll just do 3.
Oh, God.
Wow.
Sorry, it was there. It was like a volleyball. I had to do something.
I should get a shirt like that, like rock, paper, scissors, and then I got a rock. Like I should
Always rock.
And you had
That's
the
right.
paper, the legacy advantage, and then you
That's
got
true.
cut.
That's
Oh, look at this! Everyone's a comedian.
It is kind of nice that everybody in your season isn't trying to go into the t-shirt business. It is kind of
Believe in Brett.
oh man.
No, I've been thinking I should write a little story about my rock. Like that's what I should do. But no one would get it unless they actually watched the show. But I think that would be funny. Like the little rock that took me out.
Yeah.
Be good.
Wow.
Your Craigslist post was already top notch. Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, that was good.
Thank you. I had to do something because it was one of those situations where, like, I'm certainly not bitter about it. It's frustrating, but it was the right decision. It was just the wrong rock. I mean, that's really what it boils down to. And in hindsight,
on the rock.
What was that?
Any offers?
Oh, any offers? One person was like, it was really funny because he sent me a message and it was like, I'll give you what you would get after taxes if you win the show. And then he
wow.
And then I swear to God, it was like 30 seconds later, he's like, you weren't fast enough. I'm taking back my offer. I'm like, whoa, wait. It was like 30 seconds. So yeah, that was the only offer that I actually. Oh, my husband's here. Yes, Evan's here. Come over.
Yes, he couldn't be on the show, but we'd love to have him on the podcast. Come on.
All right,
Yeah. CBS wouldn't let him come on, but we will.
There he is. Look, and I'm a ninja. That's what his shirt says. So yeah, so there he is.
Yeah. Well,
Evan's here.
hello, Evan. Hello, Evan.
It's the loved ones.
We would just
Right, it's the Love Ones podcast. Perfect.
Yes.
Oh, look, this is funny because look, it's on his phone. Like, isn't that weird?
CBS wouldn't let you sit with your wife, but we will. Survivor.
Is that Hannah too? Now Hannah's creeping down here.
Come on in.
Come on over.
Come on in, guys.
We're doing a Love Ones podcast. Oh, come on in, guys. Look at this. Come on over, Hannah. All right, so here's Hannah.
Hi, Hannah.
Where's Owen?
David and Dwaine and Adam and Evan. Look. Hello.
She's like, oh boy, thank you, Mom.
Actually, I have to say this when she's here. She is the reason why I even got on the show because she made my video that got me noticed. I mean, I've never applied. I'm one of those people that I literally applied once, and I had said to Hannah, hey, listen, why don't you put together a video for me? Because she's really good at that kind of stuff. You gotta turn that down. And I can hear myself talking on his phone. And so she put it together and she's like, Mom, I think it's kind of stupid. And I watched it and I was intrigued about myself and I know everything about me. So I was like, this is probably gonna work. And sure enough, like 2 months later, I think was when they called me. I sent it in and that was it. So this
Hannah needs to make a video of how to make a video because there are thousands and thousands of people that make horrible videos that never get seen. And if she was the director, then she needs to make a video on how to make a video.
Yeah.
It was fantastic. Like she did such a great job. And it literally was when they called me, the first thing that I was told was your video was amazing.
Okay, so I have a question.
Post it. Post it.
I have a question for Hannah. Hannah, hello?
Hello.
Okay. Since you made the video that got your mom on the show, did she give you a portion of her winnings?
No.
Oh.
I gave her a day here. Come on.
What the heck, Mom?
I wish.
Yeah.
Some crisp $20 bills. Yeah. You just got treated nicely for Christmas.
We'll have her do a video of me explaining how to fly 16,000 miles. Spend 35 hours in Fiji.
And not get to see your
But I
wife.
did get to play volleyball with Evan. That was
nice.
Me, which is the
Yeah.
real prize, right?
And
that
then-
was the real bonus.
like Evan's like, I got to see my brother. He like spike it in
Spike.
your face.
Yeah.
You didn't
So
get
funny.
Jessica.
I think I actually laughed.
the little alliance was Aaron in your alliance?
Side
alliance?
individual alliances as well.
Evan was playing the social game. That's right.
Yeah, absolutely. Like
The loved ones were playing the game as well, believe me.
Oh, yeah.
See, Aaron needs to get a T-shirt saying "I flew this long to see my wife, but all I got to see was this guy." So
Yeah. Or all I got was this lousy T-shirt.
You did get a lousy t-shirt.
Yeah. Exactly.
he got a T-shirt that said "I almost got on Survivor."
It's a good t-shirt.
That would be good. Yeah. All right.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Family affair. Come join.
Well, there.
That is awesome.
all right, I'm gonna take that as my
Good
cue.
times.
Oh,
Thanks, Evan.
All right.
Yeah.
So
Bye,
I'm gonna
Evan,
put
you're
the
awesome.
headphones back in
Thank you for participating in the biggest scam in the history of Survivor, faking the. Oh, forget it.
now? Wait, what?
I swear, Adam, I had your back, Adam. I could tell that you were in pain. I could tell it was real. So I don't know what he was thinking.
I could tell it
I
was
liked the credit though. Like not
Well,
a bad move, right?
I thought you were smart enough to have done it. I mean,
Well, I don't know why you need to throw the challenge in order to do that. I mean, the rest of it is partially accurate in that, yeah, I did think I would have a much better chance of being brought on the reward if I
Right,
publicly
right.
announced before it that I wasn't going to use it. Like the timing of it was definitely strategic.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if I'm standing at that challenge and I look and it's physical and I look down and I see Barbie, Ken, and Jay, I'm standing on the beach going, "Why am I even running this challenge?"
David. David. If
There's not enough digging in the world to get me under that
Yeah.
ball.
David. Bring in the backhoe. Bring in the backhoe.
Can I just lift the log up and walk under? So
I think Ken broke the log because he got stuck too, and I think he actually like broke the log. I couldn't see because I was stuck myself. Evan, what happened? Oh, Evan's going to come back for 1 second and explain what happened here.
Yeah, Ken went the other way. Ken went the same way as Adam, like belly first or belly down. And I guess he was struggling so hard that the log actually like popped off its hinges or whatever and completely came free.
Wow.
And stopped the entire challenge. And they went back out and like hammered it back in. But I think Ken was able to go back out of it while that was happening.
Please tell me he wasn't underneath it when they did that. 'Cause that was-
Did they hammer it with him like underneath?
Yeah. They're like, Ken, don't move. Adam, don't move. You're like, I can't.
So I guess that was the only way to get out is you have to like break it.
You had to break it.
wow.
Oh my word.
'Cause otherwise he would have been stuck too, yeah?
I mean, maybe he could have dug his way out. Adam.
Oh, it's Ken. He would have gotten it out. Yeah. he would've- Come on, it's Ken.
Yeah. Ken just grease up his body and slide under it.
Hannah would have pulled him out. She would have gone to the side. Just
Yeah.
pulled him out
Hannah
of
was
there.
like
Oh
hoping
my-
for a bromance. Instead, she got Zeke.
She did.
See all her Twitter and Instagrams. They're together all the time.
Oh my word.
So I want just to change subject just a little bit. now that our spouses and brothers are gone, everybody's gone. At Final Tribal, was there anything that you guys thought, "Wow, I can't believe they didn't show that part"? Like the part where Adam, after Chris talks, and Adam says, "Next, can we move on? Can we move on?" Because I like who he gave credit to. We'll just leave it at that. But can we move on to the next person? Is there anything that y'all were surprised it didn't show from Tribal Council?
Yeah, any of the parts where I did well would have been nice.
Wow. He sounded a little angry there for a minute.
Wow.
He's defending himself.
Yeah.
It seems like a common thread.
I was actually really quite surprised that they took what I said, which was, this much, and made it like this big. And I understand they have to do things for editing, but it just made me appear to, like, I looked like I was mad at Ken for what he did to David. But there was a whole lead up to that, and there was a whole explanation that I provided both to Adam and Ken because I only spoke to those two at the Final Tribal, and I was a little surprised that none of that was played at all. They just made me look bitter. So I was like, but I wasn't bitter. I wasn't. Like I was asking Ken a legitimate question because I really did. I wanted Ken to own what he had done. Like, I wanted him to own it and explain, like, this was part of my strategy. Like, I knew that David was a threat and he was going to win this game, and I utilized him to get to the end. Like, I wanted him to own it. And then he didn't. So that was why I asked that question, but that was all they ended up showing.
Yeah.
So I was surprised.
From my perspective, I felt like I had been able to, in that final tribal council, articulate why I made each move that I made along the way. And what we ended up seeing on the show was me just calling out Hannah. And I think I did way more than just like say that the other two were terrible in terms of talking about how I played a good game. And I think that part got cut out. But I mean, some of it wasn't surprising that they cut it out. Like when I talked about how it was my relationship with Will that helped him flip to our side. Of course, they're not going to include that in Final Tribal Council because they cut it out of the show entirely. And so anything that wasn't in the show wasn't going to be shown for Final Tribal Council, even if it was maybe the most important thing that I did all game. So.
Yeah, and since you and I didn't talk on the island, they weren't going to show me asking you a question.
Yeah.
Do you think they were trying to downplay at all that you were going to be the obvious winner? I mean, because at that point when Ken, like you said, Ken couldn't even really explain his vote on David that well. And Hannah, I'm not sure she got spoken to, but one or two times, but it was almost like, wow, Adam's just unloading everything and everybody's just nodding their heads. We can't show that because that's just going to give away, 10 votes.
I mean, I'd be curious to hear Jessica's take on this as well, but I would say absolutely yes, that they tried to make it look up in the air up until the votes were read.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people that watch the show, and certainly they post on Facebook all the time, that were 100% convinced that Ken was going to win, even going into the votes being read. And for anyone that was present at Final Tribal Council, it was very clear that wasn't the case.
Right.
Yeah, and I actually, I mean, we did a lot of, I mean, obviously, the jury watches the game at Tribal, but also what they've experienced throughout the game. And I think that in that final Tribal, it was very clear to all of us that Adam, out of those three, was going to be the obvious winner. I mean, we had respect for the other two, but as far as their gameplay compared to Adam, it wasn't strong and it wasn't comparable. And so it was one of those situations where, yes, they were all asked questions, but at the same time, or maybe they weren't even all asked questions. And I think Brett was very clear in how he felt about who was sitting in the final three, which they didn't show. He was very clear about it. And, and they cut down a lot of what Chris said. Chris said, I mean, even though they did show quite a bit of him advocating for you, he had much more of a build up to it. So, and they obviously cut out what I had said about you as well. So I do think that they tried to make it more even keel, because I did have a lot of people in my family and friends of mine that thought Ken was going to win as well. And were actually really surprised when I didn't vote for Ken. So it was, and so I had to explain to people what you didn't see. I had a great relationship with Ken, but I also had a great relationship with Adam. And as far as the gameplay is concerned and strategy, Adam was the winner in my mind because I had a relationship with both. Right. So, it's one of those situations where I think Adam's right. They kind of have to show the final Tribal so it makes sense with what you saw throughout the season.
Right. Yeah, and because we didn't see you and
for a second talk about how they did not even show a single conversation that I had with Ken about voting out David, which blew my freaking mind.
Yeah.
They made it seem as if I hadn't spoken to him, and that either he made the decision totally on his own, or Hannah convinced him. And while I don't take the kind of credit that Chris leveled at me for being fully responsible for it, I certainly played a role. And the fact that it's almost like they wanted the audience to think that Chris was unfairly giving me this compliment, which was strange. But
and then we were waiting for Ken to object, and he never even got to finish the sentence, it seemed like. But go ahead, Dwaine.
Well, I have a question, and if you've been asked this before, I'm really sorry. I didn't listen to all the other ones. Well, I mean, he's done like 85 podcasts. So,
2.
Two. Well, we're the best.
I'm like 85.
Yeah.
Two.
2. Yeah. Well, you saved the best for third. So thank you. Did CBS tell you had won so you could tell your mom, or did you just know because of there? Or are you allowed to tell us?
No, they definitely never told me.
Okay. You just knew and you were able to tell your mom.
I knew.
Which had to be just an awesome thing for you to be able to do.
Well, yeah, yes and no. I mean, I was glad to be able to tell her, but the circumstances of me telling her was the single most difficult moment of my entire life. I mean, it was insane. It was just, it's not, I mean, you couldn't script it more dramatically, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, it was really genuine, like in her absolute final moments when I told her. Because we didn't know when I first got home what was about to happen. I mean, it was crazy.
It was, well, that's what David said when I was asking what David thought. He said, I think he just knew, you know, and y'all just made it clear that you did. So. Yeah,
I mean, look, like I said, anyone who was at that final look, how do I say this without sounding like super cocky or whatever? But I pretty much knew that when the last Dave vote was read, because I had been watching the jury's reaction to these people, and to me, and I just knew that there were members of the jury that were rooting for me, and there were a number of members of the jury that were like actively rolling their eyes when Ken spoke, or when Hannah made some of the moves that she made. So it just was clear to me, and then it was even more clear to me at the end of Final Tribal Council, and then it was even more clear to me by the time we ultimately got on the plane home.
I think you can say with confidence that because of your relationships with these people and that you knew these people and you could recognize how they saw others, that you were overly confident that you were getting their votes. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I think it had to do a lot with your relationships. Like you said, you were friends with all these people. Mm-hmm. So there's nothing wrong with saying you were extremely confident you were getting all the votes. I think it's easy to say.
Yeah. So would y'all mind taking some questions from the chat room?
Let's do it.
Sure. Let's do this.
So chat room, we are ready for your questions. In fact, Rion, how do you say his name, David? Rion. He's from Sydney, Australia, and he's on his lunch break. So get your question there, and I'll ask it. Jake Young has a question. Jessica or Adam, if the 5 of you would have dominated over Team Zeke, when and how would you have gotten rid of David?
Oh, Adam and I actually had a conversation about this because I didn't want to write David's name down just because David had saved me. So I was trying to be creative in my thinking because I knew David needed to get voted out, unfortunately. So Adam and I were discussing it, and he said to me one day, he's like, you realize we have to vote David out, right? And I was like, yes, but I don't want to be part of the vote. So I was trying to swing, like, hey, well, we could vote for him, but I'll just vote for somebody else so I don't put his name down, which Adam was not.
I heard you say that on Phil and Will, and I actually wouldn't have minded that if we didn't need your vote.
Right.
If it came down to a time where we didn't need your vote, I would have been happy to let you pretend to not want to vote Dave out, and then at Final Tribal Council, I get to say, oh, by the way, Dave, Jessica knew all along, and she's still playing you, and she's still lying to you.
Nice.
So, see?
Absolutely no problem with that, but I definitely would not have kept that in at Final Tribal Council if that's what you're thinking.
No, I'm sure that you wouldn't. No, and that's one thing, too, that they didn't show in Final Tribal, was when you were like, you said to everybody, like, I'm sitting next to the 2 people I absolutely wanted to sit next to in the final 3. And I was like, oh, I can't believe it. So I called him out on it when I talked to him at the end, because I was hoping that, I was going to be one of his 3 sitting there. So that was another thing you didn't get to see.
But what did I, do you remember what I said?
Yeah, you told me I was winning, so I couldn't sit next to you because I was going to beat you.
I didn't know. That's a mischaracterization. I said I wasn't sure. And
Oh, so Adam Twitter. Adam admits Jessica would have beat him.
that's not what I said. I said you were playing a very strong game, and it would have depended on what happened from that moment on.
I believe you said you were winning this game. Yes. I do believe that's what you said.
That's the
you
quote.
were winning this game.
He's honest, if not anything else. He's so honest. He's got, he's honest.
That's the quote I'm using. So, whatever.
I would have loved to go to the end with you, Jessica, only if I thought I would beat you in the end, right. Which that's the way the game works, right? Like,
oh yeah, no, I know.
If I could have my choice of who I would want to like come in second place or whatever, I would have loved to bring Jessica to the end. But if I thought she was going to beat me, which at the time I thought was like likely, then I wouldn't have.
Adam says it was likely that Jessica.
Adam says, I would have loved for you to be my second place finisher, Jessica.
Yeah, look, I do think that Jessica and I played very similar games, and I think we had a almost identical end game in mind, where I sort of compared it to like a Malcolm Denise thing on one of the other podcasts I did, where the final four in both of our minds or something close to it was us with Ken and Hannah. And then, then the question is like, and at that point, maybe we would have turned on each other.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's where we both were at.
All right, ask Rion's question.
Yeah, Rion's. He's at lunch. He's on lunch break in Australia. So let's do his. He said, "Did you guys think Hannah delivered her final tribal strategy poorly? Her theory seemed fine, but her delivery was poor, or were the jury not open to even hearing her? Maybe Jess can give us more insight on this."
I think Hannah's biggest problem was she was trying to really exude confidence, but at the same time, the justification she was providing for the decisions that she made didn't make sense to us. And I think that's where we were all getting hung up, was that she was arguing that she was making moves, but she wasn't making moves that were justified or that would make sense. And that was the part that was missing, was she was very adamant that I was involved in every decision and I knew who was going to get voted out and I was deciding who was going to go home. But she wasn't explaining why that was good for her game, because that was the missing piece, was why was that move a good move? It doesn't matter if you make a move if it's a bad move.
Right.
And I think that was what was missing for all of us and in all of her explanations, was that you sound very proud of your game, but you're not explaining it. It's right. You can beat your chest and say, well, I did X, but if you can't explain why X is good, then it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I knew going into that final tribal council that Hannah was going to proudly own being responsible for everyone going home. And so, my intentional approach was to distance myself from some of the moves that she made, knowing that they were, unpopular moves with the jury.
Right.
And it was also truthful. Like the moves that I talked about at Final Tribal Council that she made, which there were sort of three of them. It was obviously when Brett went home, which I still think was a mistake, and which she even recognized was a mistake right after that vote. And the rock draw I was something that I talked about quite a bit, because I was like, she had taken credit basically for turning Zeke and Dave against each other, which was, a strong move. The timing was just wrong. And it resulted in, we had a 6-person alliance, and you can't lose someone when there's still 10 people left, because then you end up with a 5 and 5, and it could have resulted in Hannah going home, or me going home, or Jessica going home, which is what happened. And then also the Sunday boot, and I explained why I stepped back from that, and why it wasn't necessarily like the perfect decision, although that one wasn't as like bad
Well, and
necessarily.
the David decision too.
But-
Because you said when Brett went home, yeah, because she kept David instead of
So it was those three
voting
that
out
I
Brett.
sort of
Yeah.
missed from a little bit.
All right.
Yeah, we didn't understand it. We didn't understand it at all.
All right. Let's do Ryan's question next. Now that, by the way, Kim, I can't wait to ask her question. So, Ryan,
I will say, by the way, that I do think that the jury, because of those moves that they didn't like, unfairly discredited her game as a whole.
Yeah.
When she, there were times, where she had a very good understanding of what was going on in the game. Like she understood just as well as I did that we couldn't go to the end with Dave. And she came to me that morning of the final 5 and said, Dave has to go home tonight. And I was like, yeah, I know. So she had game sense. There were just a few times where it went a little haywire.
See, I wasn't surprised that you won. I was surprised that it was 10-0 by the edit, by what we saw in her activity and her very successful voting record, of the.
But the only differences between our games, and this was my big pitch at Final Tribal Council, was when she made moves that put us in danger. So if you're looking at our moves, like all of the ones, that helped us move forward in the game, we were either equal partners or very close to that, with maybe me taking the lead on one and her taking the lead on other, and we were working very much in tandem. And then it's when it went wrong that those were the moments where she sort of took control. Yeah. That was my pitch, at least.
Yes, good point.
All right, Ryan Kaiser, now that the Survivor chapter has closed, what's next for you in life? Another adventure or a long, relaxing cool down? And then he says, P.S. Jess, you had the best laugh.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Oh, that Jessica's.
I'm gonna start a little rock farm.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Wow, we almost made 30 minutes. That's right.
I know, right? No, I think for me, it's really right now, I have to focus on work. I have a ton of things going on at work. I was promoted when I got back, and so I've been very excited about that. But obviously, my workload has increased greatly. So I really need to focus on my job. My family is a huge component of what I need to focus on right now. And just waiting for, the next opportunity to present itself, I guess. I've said this in multiple interviews that I've done. I'm one of those people that it's never done. I really am not. I'm always looking for something else. And so this was my something else. A year ago, I was like, hey, what about this? So whatever the next thing that presents itself or that I come up with, I will absolutely try. So sky's the limit, I guess, whatever is available. Mm-hmm. But I definitely need to focus on my family because they had missed me. And this year has been so crazy. It's been so crazy.
Especially your husband, who drove 35,000 miles in the air.
If he drove.
I used the wrong word.
What about you, Adam? What's next for you?
Now I'm gunning for Prope's job.
Oh, yeah.
Nice. Nice.
He's going to have to retire eventually, right? No,
yeah.
That's right.
I would say that I'm kidding, but kind of not really.
Right, exactly.
No, but in reality, I am still working just since, the show started airing. Obviously, I've been really busy with Survivor stuff and just spending a lot of time with my family. So I'm just working part-time at the homeless shelter nonprofit. It's called Life Moves in the San Francisco Bay Area. And I'm running the summer intern program. The first deadline is tomorrow for applications. So if there are any college students out there that want to apply for the summer intern program.
And work for the winner of Survivor. I mean, come on.
Yeah, hopefully you're not just a Survivor fan and you actually are also interested in nonprofit work and working in a homeless shelter nonprofit, and it's unpaid. So there's that. But lifemoves.org/intern if you want to apply.
Lifemoves.org/intern.
Yeah.
Just want to make sure that.
But beyond that, I'm really just spending a lot of time with family. I'm still trying to respond to everybody who all my friends who made a Facebook post or even texted me on the 14th. And I'm still like slowly like getting through all of that and getting back to everybody. But it's fun, and I love talking about Survivor, and so I'm still sort of riding that wave. Other than that, who knows? Do some traveling for sure.
Yeah, it's kind of like David after Durham Warriors. We couldn't keep him from talking about it. That's all he talked.
And it was only 4 days. So yes.
Gosh.
Hey, but I had that moment where I met somebody. I said, you know what? That's who I want to work with.
Yes.
That's who I'm going to get along with. And
David,
not quite on the scale, but
stop, David.
Hey,
David.
you opened it up.
No, we're not. We're not doing that. Pick a question, David, and ask it. This is not the Durham Warrior Survival Challenge podcast. No.
If you were to play Durham Warriors.
No, David.
Wasn't the last question from the winner though? Wasn't that who that was?
Yes, Ryan
Yes,
Kaiser was the winner. Yes, the last season.
And he also writes on our website. All right, David, pick another question. And I'm keeping tabs of who we've done so we don't double up, David.
Let's see.
Grab one you like.
So from Danny from the Bay, why did Jessica vote for Cece when Lucy didn't deny that she told Ken and David to vote for Jessica? Did she assure Jessica that they were okay?
This is a great question. I'm so glad you asked it. The whole situation with Lucy was really, it boiled down to Sunday. Sunday and I were extremely close, and we were close with Lucy because we thought, the three of us had made a decision, and we had all decided that we were going to vote out Paul. And it was actually Lucy who mentioned it first. Like, I was talking about Paul, and she's like, if you want to vote him out next, we can do that. I'm fine with it. So I was like, okay, it sounds like everybody's on the same page. And then once we got to when Ken had come at me and said, they want to vote you out, they're voting you out, the way that he presented it to me, it was in a manner that I had never seen Ken act. And I was really taken aback, and I thought, he's just freaking out. Like that was my impression, was that he's freaking out because he knows that things are not going the way that he necessarily wanted them to go. And so I went to my alliance. They only showed me asking Lucy, but I went to Sunday first and talked to Sunday. And Sunday was like, Jessica, you're fine. You're good. You don't need to worry about it. Nobody's voting you out. Everything is fine. And I said something to Chris. I'm like, what is going on? He's like, Ken's he's struggling right now. Like, don't worry about it. So my alliance was with me. And so Lucy was standing there. I'm like, Lucy, what's up? And so in my mind, Lucy was working with me. Lucy was in my alliance. Lucy and I were close. We had just made this decision together. So I didn't think twice about talking to her about it because Sunday had confirmed everything was fine. And then the plan was we're voting for Cece. So that was what I went into tribal council thinking. All the way through tribal council, Sunday was sitting next to me, and Sunday was telling me that you're good. Like, she was winking at me during tribal council. She was making C's on her fingers, vote for Cece. So my whole reason in doing what I did was I put my faith in Sunday. And I shouldn't have. And the only reason I picked Sunday over Ken was because I hadn't been working with Ken yet. I really had just started. And so in my mind, I picked Sunday because Sunday was the person that I had aligned myself with and the person from day one I was playing the game with. And so I picked Sunday. And that was why I ended up voting for Cece.
Okay. All right. So Adam Vader Girl just wants to basically make a comment to you. She says, thank Adam for helping those of us who lost our mothers survive the holidays. He gave us hope. Thank you for sharing your journey.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
All right, Davey, you want to find a question and ask it?
What about Kim's question?
All right.
Talk about Zeke.
I wanted to ask you, butthead. Go ahead.
Hey, family.
Gosh, thank you, Adam.
Yeah.
Talk about Zeke and Hannah's relationship on the island that we didn't see.
See, you just don't listen to me, David.
I was listening. I heard you were excited about Kim's question.
Thank you, Jessica.
Zeke and Hannah.
That's why I picked it. Go ahead, Adam.
Zeke and Hannah would go down to the beach every single night, and I think they thought they were being sneaky about it, but they definitely were not. They would walk down together to the beach, and they would stay down there for a very long time. And so it was pretty obvious that they were, intimately connected in the game, and no, in the game.
Sorry.
And very much strategically on the same page, and very very tight. So, you know, I knew that when I had Hannah's vote, I sort of also had Zeke's vote, and yeah, I think the moment that they sort of like turned on each other was a big deal, not only for the game, but for their relationship within the game as well. And now they're very, very close. But I think that was tough for Zeke to understand. And you know, it was definitely like felt like a betrayal for both of them.
Right.
I got a question about Ponderosa, if I can answer it real quick. Jessica, did anybody hold sway at Ponderosa, lead the conversation, kind of feel like they were trying to influence people? Because in seasons past, that has been an accusation. They've even talked about sequestering Ponderosa from each other, so that doesn't happen. So did anybody try to dominate the conversation, or no?
No, I actually was. Ponderosa was nice, and I get a little nervous when we start talking about this kind of stuff, because I don't know how much I'm supposed to reveal, but I know it's a concern. Don't worry about it.
So you're good.
There's only 10 people listening. Go ahead.
I know it's a concern for CBS, and I know that it's a concern that Jeff has, is that the jury talks to each other, and that it's but I feel like that's a necessary component, because unfortunately we're not in the game anymore, and this person's been in the game for 3 days longer than we've been, and so they know what's going on, and they can talk about what they've seen. We only get to see a snapshot when we go to tribal council. So actually having those moments where you sit down at a table and everyone's eating together and sharing what happened for those 3 days that we weren't watching is huge in helping us all determine how we want to eventually make a decision. And I think that we did a really good job just communicating information, as opposed to really trying to convince people. And people were very interested. Well, how do you feel about this? And if it was between these three, how would you vote? And I just think we really communicated it well, and no one was really pushing or vying for anyone in particular. I mean, up until the point that David went home, I mean, we were all like, David is winning this. I mean, it was like that, and we were shocked, because he was in the game and he wasn't getting voted out, and we were all just kind of in shock that was still happening. But yeah, I mean, that was kind of an overarching theme that we all kind of agreed upon. But I think it was just a good communication overall. Yeah,
when Brett got voted out, he spoke for a lot of fans. Like, you guys realize the guy's going to win, right? You voted me out, but you keeping the guy that's going to win.
Yeah.
But you know, in the jury since
I was so like, I turned to the jury, and I had this moment of like, I am with you with the jury, where I was like, why? What?
Yeah, like, what just happened?
I looked at them, and they looked back at me. They're like, I don't know. Like, I was like, why are they doing this?
Yeah. We had a little game that we would play before we got to tribal council, where we would all guess who won immunity and who was going home. And so we would and we would go through like why we thought, you know, what our guesses were, and everybody would make their guesses. And I think that tribal in particular, we were all like, David's going home, but we were supposed to all pick different people. But it was like, everyone was like, no, David's going home. Like, David has to go home. And then David didn't go home. And we were like, what is going on? It was crazy. It was crazy.
All right. So I'm going to take David's lead and go away from our wonderful chat room people. Sorry, David started this. I always watch the tribal councils and think, okay, Probst has to know what happened to camp. Do y'all, like, when you're at tribal council, do you go, okay, how did you know that, Probst?
He's so good at his job. And maybe
he is.
A different answer, but he gets it out of you. Like, you would if you didn't already know that he knows some stuff, just from like being a fan and knowing that that's the case, you would never know. I mean, he just gets it out of you. It's amazing. He's very impressive.
He is. And I told Jeff before the game even started, before I was even on the show, that he wouldn't get anything out of me. I'm like, I don't understand why people go to tribal council and do what they do, because all of a sudden they feel like they can spill their guts and they can share all of this information and talk about all of these things that they've been keeping a secret or they don't want anyone to know. And suddenly they feel like tribal council is a safe place where they can share with Jeff Probst. And he had told me, he's like, I will get it out of you. And I was like, well, I guess we'll wait and see, because he is so incredibly good at his job, and he's so good at paying attention to what people are saying and the reactions of other people while that person is speaking, because that in and of itself tells a great story. When, you know, Adam might be making a comment about something and he's like, Brett, I couldn't help but notice, you know, you were rolling your eyes, and it's those things that you might not want to give away. But Jeff is watching and he's paying attention, and he is incredibly impressive at not only asking good questions, but just paying attention to everything that's going on and being so invested in that game. I mean, Jeff is completely 100% invested in that game, and you can tell with every challenge, every tribal council, every moment you deal with him.
That was a major part of tribal councils this year.
Survivor. Oh, sorry.
I was going to say that was a major part of the season, was all the side conversations at tribal council. I mean, they really emphasized that. That was really interesting.
I think it's important to play Survivor like Jeff Probst, because the way that he pays attention to people's reactions to what people are saying, you was constantly surprised by how little sort of stare at Jeff instead of looking at the people who speak it, the person who's speaking, or the people who are listening.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to go to Tom. This is for Jess. Jess, huge fan. What was your favorite challenge to compete in?
Oh, my favorite challenge? Well, I'll give you two. My favorite challenge that we competed in was, and I two because of different reasons. When I think it was the second immunity challenge, and I had to swim through the ocean and climb up the cargo net and then jump and grab the key. And that was an incredible moment, because I would never do anything like that in my life normally. Like, never jump from a height that high into the ocean. Like, I'm going to drown and die. Like, that's what I'm thinking. And in that moment, I was standing there looking at this challenge, and Chris is telling me, David, if Jessica, or he's telling me, he's like, Jessica, if David doesn't do it, you have to go twice. And I was like, sure, no problem. Yeah, I got this. Completely, like, in my head, dying. Like, I'm going to miss the key. So that was incredible, just because I did it. Like, I accomplished it, and it was something I never thought that I would accomplish. But then my overall favorite challenge, I think, was the bucket challenge, when I had to keep my hands over my head, just because I had no idea that I had that strength inside of me. And to stand there for an hour and 42 minutes in that position, in pain, but just mentally working through it, it taught me a lot about myself. So that was an incredible experience to have, to know that I can do that. So there's my two.
Well, how about you, Adam? I mean, we might as well ask you the same question.
Probably it was the first time I had stepped up to, like, participate in the final part of a challenge. Like, I think I made the mistake of sitting back a little bit too much early on, when I could have been helpful in some of those end things, whether it was the challenge that we lost that sent Takali to tribal council, or like being the caller or whatever in the reward challenge. And so I had sort of, like, very much stepped back and allowed other people to step up. And so I hadn't really, like, proven myself at all. And then there was that reward challenge where our team was the clear underdogs, I thought. I did that puzzle with Zeke at the end and won it. Like, that was yeah, cool.
you beat me on that one. That was a fun challenge. That was cool. That was definitely fun.
Yeah.
Hey, so you can't. Oh, I'll say, so you can't nominate each other, but if you could nominate one person from your season to play again, who would you like to see play again?
Besides the
Ooh.
two that are already playing again? Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, that's a good added component as well. So we can't pick Zeke and Michaela?
That's correct.
Okay, so.
You didn't hear that here. Sorry.
Spoiler alert. Sorry.
Oh my gosh, really? Okay, go ahead.
Just Michaela, right?
I'm acting surprised. Wow. Okay.
Whoa.
I would like to see David play again.
All right, and then since she took David, I'll say Jay.
Nice.
Oh, there you go.
There you go.
Perfect. Yes. Perfect.
I think they should definitely both play again, and I think they're both very good Survivor players, very entertaining people to watch. I
think David would have a little more difficult time now if because people now know how good he is.
I agree entirely. Yeah, he would. It would be a struggle because he presented himself in such a great fashion at the beginning to build himself up in the way that he did. It would be hard. It would be hard for him. But he also might do extremely well because people will know he's so good at the game and will want to work with him early on because they know his capabilities. So it's a mixed bag.
I think the one thing that Dave has going for him is that he was a really loyal ally when you really think about it. I mean, part of it was out of necessity because he really didn't have a whole lot of options in the merge because half the tribe wanted to vote him out. So he needed to rely on his allies. He in some ways he was sort of at our mercy because Brett was never going to work with him. Sunday wasn't going to work with him. I mean, there was this half of the tribe was not willing to work with him. And
it's interesting though because they did tell him about me that they wanted to vote out me. That came from the Brett, Chris, and Sunday. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. He there was until Chris was voted out, Dave had a ton of options. But then after Chris was voted out, he had solidified himself on one side.
Yeah.
To the point where the side that he had blindsided was never willing to come back and then work with him again.
Right.
Besides, I guess, for the most part, Dave played a very loyal game, and that's something that he can remind people that he plays with. I think people may forget that about his game, but it was an important part of his game. Yeah. It was maybe the most important part of his game.
Well, so did you know? I'm sorry. Go ahead, Dwayne.
While Jessica's pouring her 6th glass of wine.
I know. Can you tell that's what I'm doing?
Yes, because he knows that's what I do. When I'm bent over.
Terrible. Look. They're sitting right next to me.
Oh,
okay?
I want those so bad.
I know, and I haven't been eating them. I'm like, oh my god.
Thinking I want some salt and vinegar chips because, when I see you, that's what
I'm telling you. I'm like, yeah, that's
okay.
That's why I have a mute
there.
So that when I have to.
So as soon so he gets to get up and go get some. I don't get that privilege. As soon as my wife goes to bed tonight, I'm eating.
I don't have salt and vinegar, but.
Oh, did you get chips too?
Yeah, I'm just gonna drink my water
here. It's the kettle kind too. Oh man,
This podcast sponsored by.
This should be. Let me tell you, I'm gonna do kettle chips. If you're listening, I'm your biggest fan. Okay, right here. This
sponsor
is.
us.
We've yet to have a real sponsor. Come on, Kettle.
Someone tweet this. Please. Someone tweet this. Come on. Don't we have enough followers that we can get paid to tweet something now, right? Isn't that supposed to be reality TV people? The Bachelor people make a ton of money off that.
Is that show still on? Okay. Sorry, I just love saying that because people say that about Survivor all the time.
Yeah.
Oh God, that is true. It does surprise people.
I want to.
Oh, he's actually eating them too. See, I'm being good. Like I'm not eating and doing the podcast.
I just want to thank Tina for saying it's the best D&D podcast of 2017. Thank you.
Thank you, Tina.
It's the only podcast that we've done in 2017.
Oh, wait. I just realized what that means. That doesn't mean anything.
No.
I know, so that's really funny because for a minute I was like, that's awesome. And then that's just a backhanded
But that reminds me of the, have y'all seen the movie Arthur from the 80s?
I love that movie.
Okay, so when
he's drinking all the time.
So when he's sitting at the table and he goes, You're the most beautiful woman at this table. Oh boy.
Oh, that's good.
Bader
That's good.
says best podcast of the season. So there you go.
Ooh, so that covers back
Yeah.
to 2016.
She's
So all right.
also drinking some Pinot.
So instead of us talking about the survivors, she'd rather hear the survivors talk about.
Yeah,
themselves.
well,
So
you know,
that's
that
understandable.
was one of our iTunes
Guys
reviews.
feel.
Yeah.
Remember that iTunes review that said their guests are great.
They're best when they have guests.
Yeah.
Yes,
Ooh, there.
They're best when it's D&D and someone else.
that could be our new slogan. When we're talking with D&D, they're
Oh,
best
my
when they have guests.
Someone else.
Yeah, about half our listeners find us because they're looking for Dungeons and Dragons stuff, and then they're disappointed.
Someone said, I think, was it on Reddit or so? Someone was like, "Oh, I was really hoping this would be like a Dungeons and Dragons thing with like Jessica and Adam playing or something."
We haven't.
That's funny.
We haven't always had the best comments on Reddit about us, so I don't usually.
Reddit is a mixed bag. It truly is. Yeah.
Someone just tweeted at me. Here, wait, let me pull this up because this is funny.
Wired
are
comments
you on Twitter right
Oh,
now?
no,
Like
hey.
you're.
we had somebody tweet. Oh, go ahead.
Speaking of Reddit, someone just posted a screenshot from a month ago that says, "Adam seems like a good guy, but Adam's a terrible Survivor player. Don't let the fact that he posts on Reddit and is one of us blind you to how bad he is at the game. Doesn't mean he's a bad person, but seriously, the story being told around him is that he's terrible at it. 134 upvotes."
What? Listen, I played with that guy. He's not a terrible Survivor player. All right.
And the CBS editors are going, "Yes, we did our job."
Okay,
Well, that's true.
Posts like that were getting like upvoted like
Yeah.
you wouldn't believe.
so I'm not going to mention what the other show is, but one time we had a guest come on before the other show had the guest come on, and some person on Twitter tweeted the person and said, "What the heck? Why would you go on Survivor Talk with D&D before you go on this podcast?" I was like, butthead.
But
All right.
family show. But
See, now we're into kettle chips and late night talk. with D&D.
you guys thought this was water the whole time?
It was vodka.
There's Adam and his honesty again. Tell us.
Right.
Yeah. Jake says, Adam, they have no idea what they're talking about. You had an amazing game.
Thank you, Jake.
That's right.
Jake, you are correct.
According to Jessica, that's right.
Yeah. According to Jessica, who would have beat Adam, according to Adam.
Thank you. Thank you. I was winning.
Even. We were even.
Oh God, that
man.
spam rock.
I don't know if we have any more questions in here. Let's see. Do y'all have any questions for each other? I don't understand this question. What is y'all's favorite Survivor castaway named Tina?
Tina.
I'm gonna just go with Tina.
Yeah, there you
No,
go.
good answer, Jessica. I like Tina.
Tina was great. Didn't you see Tina? She was amazing.
Tina.
Hey, Dwayne, so any future guests that we have on, we should recommend they have just a nice glass of wine beside them as they speak, so that it's fun by the end of the night.
As the show goes on, Jessica gets more and more fun.
What Tina are there? Tina Winner and Tina Timber Tina. Are there? Am I
Are
missing?
there other Tinas?
I don't know.
I don't know.
See, no.
We're fans of the game, not Encyclopedia Browns.
Yeah, there's other
Okay.
podcasts for that.
We'll move on. Tina was great. We love Tina.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, we have a Tina in the chat room, and she's awesome.
Hi, Tina.
We never know where she's from. She's always somewhere
This is
different.
my favorite on the future Survivor.
That's
Do what?
fun. As he's eating chips, you
Oh,
can't
yeah.
understand it right now.
Don't worry about it.
Let's see. Adam, why did you believe this is from Jake Young again?
Oh,
Adam, why did you believe Sunday say they were voting Ken?
I wasn't sure. It was the best information I had, honestly. And that's part of that speaks to the strength of Sunday's game.
Yeah.
is that when she said something, people believed it because she was a very honest person. She was very good socially. And you didn't necessarily think that she was playing this hyper strategic game. So when she said something, I tended to take it at face value. So that was the only real credible piece of information that I had. And I honestly thought she might've just slipped up. Let's put it this way. Let's say they were actually voting for Ken and she slipped up. She made a mistake. And we hear that. And then I don't say anything.
Right.
Then people are like, you idiot. She said it out loud. So, the audience has the hindsight of retrospect and knowing that she's not voting for Ken. But at the time you have to decide, was that a slip up or was she playing us? And, let's put it this way. If it was a slip up, then it's definitely Ken. If she was playing us, then I still don't know who it is except that it's not Ken. So if it's 50-50 on whether she slipped up or not, if she was playing us, I still don't know who we play the idol for.
Yeah.
Whereas if not, then at least we know who to play the idol for. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And also to add, during the day leading up to tribal council, the two names that had been coming up repeatedly were my name and Ken's name. I had no idea that Hannah was even a consideration, even though Hannah thought she was. But those were the names that I had heard was either going to be me or Ken. So the fact that then Ken was the name they were discussing didn't necessarily seem out of place because we had been hearing that throughout the day as well.
Yeah.
And actually, I think what it really was not necessarily that and maybe it was, and Sunday just had this plan all along that she was going to lie about who it was. But I really genuinely think that it was just Hannah was the one that asked her, and Sunday's obviously not going to say Hannah to Hannah.
Right.
It's just the person that asked made her look for anybody else. And so, it ended up being a great move for their side. But I think the main thing that she was thinking at the time was just, I can't tell Hannah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, who was it that did that? And was the season with the Philippines? Was it Carter told Kent? Well, we're thinking about you. Jeff Kent about voting you out. But no, not voting you out. No, just thinking about it in general. It has happened before.
Yeah. Y'all that aren't watching don't notice this, but apparently salt and vinegar chips makes Adam.
Makes me what?
You like going all the time.
Really?
Now that you're eating your salt and vinegar.
I
don't think those are salt and vinegar. Are those jalapeno?
Wow.
I knew it.
We have a question on Twitter from T-Rex.
It's all right, though, right? People don't care. We're in each other's,
That's
living
right.
Right?
Yeah. Hey, we are getting close to Tony Vlachos' length podcast episode, by the way.
Oh.
So, pretty
Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine with me. Tony
All right, cool.
Tony won't be happy about it because he likes the fact that we have the longest show with him. But who would have?
I got to win at something. All right.
Yeah, really. Who would have won between Hannah and Ken? This
Ken.
is from T-Rex.
Hannah.
Ken.
Where's the cricket?
Hannah.
Ken.
Hannah.
Oh,
I guess we disagree on this one. I'm going with Ken.
Maybe Ken. I think Hannah.
all right. Vader Girl, golly, Vader Girl.
Vader Girl's got a lot.
I know she says a lot of stuff.
Oh,
which
wait,
is awesome.
let me say one more thing about that.
Okay.
I think if Hannah had voted me out at some point, I think the jury would have understood more of her game because I would have been there to explain it to them.
Ah, okay.
Mm.
Okay. And so therefore she would have beaten Ken. Vader Girl wants to know how Ken is doing. Have y'all talked to Ken? She says he seemed really sad.
I have talked to Ken, and Ken is doing very well. He is running with his charity, his Humankind. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but you can certainly Google and look it up. He's been doing a lot of work with that, and he personally, I think, is doing very well. I won't comment on his personal life a whole lot, but I think things are going well for Ken. I think that this was a process. that he had to go through, just like all of us, kind of coming off of it and thinking about the game and what you did. But yeah, I think Ken's doing really well. I think he's doing very well.
The Almighty Duck has a question for each of you. It's to return. Which type of season would you want to return to? To an all-star season, to another fans versus favorite season, or like Philippines where you return as captains of a newbie tribe? Which of those three? Another
type?
I'm just gonna say any, so CBS takes me back. I'm not fussy. Just give me a second chance. I'll take it. I might have my preference, but I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, because CBS is watching our show. Yeah.
They might be. You don't know.
I think you're pretty safe.
Go ahead, Adam.
Okay.
I'm not sure. I definitely think that returning players have a distinct advantage over new players. So, I guess but now new players maybe realize that and would band together to get out returning players. So, but when you have half and half, I think the edge is way, way more heavily favored towards the returning players. So maybe that just because it gives me the best chance, but I'm game for whatever too.
I think a tribe out of this past season's cast would do well against a fan versus favorite season. I think you could have gotten a good tribe out of this group, almost a lot of different people to play in a fan.
If we were to play returnees, you mean?
Yes, as newbies, I think y'all would have done well against them. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and Jeff said that a lot while we were out there. That we were playing the game like we were second chancers. He's like, he was very impressed with the level of gameplay. So I think we probably would have done really well.
Yeah. I think somebody else said that. Jay might have said it, or somebody else might have said this. Yeah, it was Jay that said these guys are playing like we're second chancers.
Yeah, I think it was Jay.
Jeff said that.
Somebody in the chat room named Dwaine says, ask Adam if he thinks he's the best winner ever.
No.
I'm not sure who this Dwaine fellow
I've been giving off that impression. I worry sometimes that my confidence is misread as arrogance or
eating a chip.
I totally recognize that I made mistakes throughout the game. Of course, I prefer to talk about the moments that you didn't see on the show, which, because I think you all saw all of my mistakes. And so part of the reason probably why I don't talk about those is because everyone's very familiar with them.
Okay.
But, I definitely recognize that there were mistakes that I made along the way. And, I just was able to recover from those. So there are winners that have played the game that didn't make a single mistake all the way through and ran it from beginning to end. Okay. I definitely did not do that.
All right. Tina has asked this question 3 times. I don't know if you're going to answer it, Jessica.
Tina. Okay.
Is Jessica winning more cases since she is a Survivor hero? Like, does the defense go, have you seen Survivor?
Yeah, would they knock someone off if they know you?
Well, here's the interesting. I will be very careful about how I answer this question.
That's what I was.
Yeah. I have had my concerns just how the response was going to be in the courthouse and with the people that I work with. The response has been rather positive. I think people have just kind of been impressed that I was able to do this. And I don't know what, if any, effect it will have on my cases. I've tried very hard to separate myself from, professional versus what I do or what I did, on Survivor. So I don't know. I mean, I'm hoping that people can separate it as well. I don't want it to have any effect on the outcomes of my case. Right. I want my cases to speak for themselves based on the evidence and the way that it is presented and the way that it's argued and the proof that I put forth. That's what I want my cases to be decided on. I don't want people to decide anything based on the fact that I played Survivor.
So you don't want them to notice the buff you're wearing around your wrist?
There will be no buffs in the courtroom. There will be no buffs.
That doesn't make sense.
What, Adam? What?
I was saying, why is she wearing her buff in the courtroom?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh man, Adam, would Danny from I thought it said Danny from eBay, but it doesn't. Danny from the Bay. Would you be interested in an all winter season?
Ooh,
God, just the thought of that is insane.
Yeah.
that would be amazing. I would love to see that.
Eligible for that kind of season. Someone just like made some like fan made like intro or whatever that I saw on YouTube for like an all winter season, and I watched it and I was like, whoa, that's wild. Yes, definitely.
I think that would be incredible. I think they should, you know what they should do? They should do winners versus first out. That would be interesting too.
Poor Francesca.
Which tribe would Tina be on?
Yes.
Oh, that's a good point.
That's a good point.
She had both.
That's right.
Does she start on Exile Island?
Oh.
Oh, please no.
Oh wow. Okay, let's have another one. Oh, I'm interested in this one, The Almighty Duck. What are your favorite seasons besides your own?
Pearl Island.
Adam, would you like to go first? Wow, he's like right there. I am going to go old school and say Borneo because that set the stage for everything that we've now been experiencing. And that is the one season this is the only show that I have ever returned to every single time it's on. And it's because of season 1. Season 1 was so incredible. The cast was amazing. The way that it was presented, everything about it was so intriguing. So yeah, I love that season. Even though it's old school, you can't beat it because it set the stage.
I didn't hear yours, Adam. What did you say?
Pearl Islands and Cagayan.
See, I like Borneo because Borneo is like watching an old movie before it got remade.
Yeah, right? Oh,
So it's always going to be great because it's so different and so raw. The way it was made, it was like they didn't quite know how great it was going to go, what it was going to be. But it's so fun to watch because you're watching these people experience this for the first time.
Yes.
Yeah,
And the fact that like it was so new and they didn't know what was going to happen, and that they sat on the island and revealed a winner of $1 million, and it was almost like Jeff didn't know what to do at that point.
Right.
Like, we just did this grand reveal and there's like this small little number of us sitting here like around a fire. Like, it's crazy.
We need applause. We should have applause for this.
Chunk of cash sitting at tribal council.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's crazy.
And then the whole alliances isn't fair type of thing, you know.
Oh my gosh, when the alliances came out, it was like one of those moments where people, like, your mind was blown. Like, they're actually like working together and they're trying to make this decision. And I have to, and I'm sorry, I love that season so much. The fact that Richard Hatch was so good at realizing he wasn't going to win the game unless he threw the last challenge, like, still blows my mind. Like, he saw that. Like, if I don't handle this the right way, I'm not going to be in the final 2. And Rudy knew that he was done. Like, Rudy was like, that's it. Like, my game's over. Like, I'm not gonna win this game. And I loved Rudy. Rudy was hysterical. That dude was so funny. Loved watching him play that game. I'll stop talking about Borneo now, but I loved Borneo.
It was
so good.
The tribal council speech. It was so good. Like,
Who, Sue?
I don't have a question for you, but
it was the rats and the snakes. Yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
no,
she was.
Rudy's was all.
Oh, Rudy's.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, Rudy was. I think Rudy was. He was really upset with Richard. But yeah, he was so much fun to watch. There was one challenge. I'm sorry, I have to mention this, but there was one challenge where they had to read things, or they heard a story. Jeff told them a story, and then they had to run into the woods and answer questions based on the story.
Yeah.
And every station that Rudy went to, he was like,
I don't know.
I have no idea.
Wasn't this
I don't even care.
Didn't his speech include the final tribal what he said? I still can't believe I took my hand off that pole.
That's what it was.
Yeah, that's what it was.
I got no question for you. Just I shouldn't have taken my hand off that pole.
I can't believe that's what it was. I thought we had a break. He said break. So I thought we were on a break. Can I wink at that guy over there? Is that okay? I'm gonna go talk to him. I don't care what you say.
Oh my word.
Oh man.
So funny.
Are there people still listening to this? I mean, this is ridiculous.
What?
People love it. It's good. It's entertaining.
People are
This
still
is you guys unedited. This is unedited talk. This is what people love to. This is what I love to hear. It's the unedited talk.
As we
I'm
started
very
with.
proud of anyone who is still listening.
I'm still listening. I'm still listening.
That's good.
I don't know how to take that.
Can you even tell how many people are listening?
I can tell how many viewers are watching at the same time.
My brother just said, I'm still listening.
There you go.
Thank you, Evan.
Now,
My husband is too, probably upstairs.
yeah. Now this
Love you, Aaron.
This will go out as an audio podcast tonight, and probably this one will hit 3,000 or 4,000. Probably, I would think.
That's fun.
I don't know how long they'll listen. I know it's not others that are 85,000, but you're having fun, and that's what's.
We are having
fun, and I just had some chips, and I'm great.
Yeah. Tina.
I know. I only ate one, and I want to eat more, but I'm being
Go
good.
ahead. I won't call you out like I did Adam. Tina is so nice. She said, "Hot hosts with good guests make for a fine podcast." That's my
Aw.
that's my own paraphrasing.
Thanks, Tina.
That's not what she said.
Just gonna work on
Hot
it.
host.
All right.
I liked hot host better.
Yeah.
That's good. I like that. That's definitely good.
Yeah.
D&D fan club.
Yeah. Y'all realize we're the old guys in the podcasting world, in the Survivor podcasting world. We're the old ones.
32.
I think you are incredible.
No, I'm 47. David's 49, maybe. How old are you?
Yeah, this is the bad year. So 49.
Yeah.
I wouldn't.
I would have never guessed.
Well,
No.
Mm-mm.
There's our social game. How's that?
Nice try. It's the one.
Are you all frozen?
Oh,
Everyone's frozen.
no, we're all good. It's just wait, hold on.
I don't know what's happening, but everyone's frozen.
Your camera's like they're how old? And your camera couldn't decide which one.
Yeah. Your camera decided to play the mannequin game with the podcast.
Apparently, everybody just like froze. That was crazy.
Mike K,
Well-
self-serving question. How do you two feel about the crazy Survivor superfans who hang out at your finale hotel lobby to meet you? Mike
Wait,
K
is this
was
with
definitely-
Mike? Who's asking?
Mike K. Mike Kumara. Mike.
You met him because he's got a picture with you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think he posted one with like my whole family too, or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
I thought they were great. I mean, it's because they're the fans are the reason why the show has gone on as long as it has. It's a great show, but if nobody watched it, then it wouldn't still be on. So I think it's wonderful that there are people that are so dedicated to being super duper fans, right, Adam?
Yeah.
So yeah, like I think it's great. And I have a lot of respect for them for loving the game so much and really respecting us as players who actually get to play the game.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, it was a lot of fun talking to people at the finale, and that's it. Some of them have met like almost every single Survivor player, which is crazy.
Yeah.
The only thing is when like someone like finds my address and like
Whoa.
sends me like that's a little bit makes me a little bit slightly uncomfortable because it's like, I didn't share this with you, so.
Yeah. Especially if they're walking around with your crotch idol, then you're really worried.
Or if they're wearing it.
Yeah, if they're wearing it around their neck and petting it, then you're in deep trouble, Adam.
Hey, I bought your idol, Adam. Guess where it is?
Yeah.
So
Oh, God.
you don't want to know that. I would get nervous at that too. I can understand that.
No, but
Oh my word, that's so wrong.
90% of the time, people are just
Oh,
very
man.
like gracious and
Yeah.
kind, and recognize that we are not just characters on a TV screen, but real human beings,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
and that they know a lot more about us than we know about them. So
Yes. Yeah.
That
Well,
is true.
if you do get, people camping out on your doorstep, just call Jessica and she'll prosecute them.
Might be out of my jurisdiction. He's a little bit far away.
So just to give you guys a little heads up, I do have to be somewhere in about 20 minutes, so I've got about a 10 left.
Sounds good to me. Do y'all want to anything else that y'all wanted to make sure that you brought up? I know you've said so many things on so many shows, but I don't know. Is there anything that y'all
Any
want?
items you want to share? Anything you
Yeah,
want?
anything you might have.
You mentioned items.
Oh,
I would show you some
Jessica.
items if I had them. I have like a whole bunch
I
of
brought
super.
my items. check out. This is one item here. Let me see where to go. There we go. Check that out.
Okay, I'm going to make it so the screen stays on Jessica, so if we talk, it won't take her off the screen. I like that. A well-balanced tribe gets the advantage. A strong tribe has it in the bag. You'd better be the tribe with the delicate touch. Going home now would be a drag.
That's not even the good one. Let me show you the really good one.
Yeah, what about the one you won?
The screen's not staying on her, or is that not how it works with us?
Okay, hang on. Let me see.
Work for y'all, but this is
okay.
Broadcast is only her.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Hang on. I'm going to find. This is one of my favorites.
And our numbers are increasing dramatically.
I was a little bit of a hoarder.
It's the West Coast.
Okay. So I love this one because of whose name is on it.
All right, I'm going to read it for the audio listeners. This is a parchment.
Cool one.
This is an unusually powerful storm, and it's going to last a bit longer. Wow, you got to keep this one? Wow.
Uh-huh.
I know you haven't had enough time to build a shelter, so as a gesture of goodwill, I'm offering this tarp as protection until you can build your own. When the weather clears, bring the tarp back to me. If I have to come looking for it, it will cost you more than just the tarp. Good luck and try to stay dry, Jeff.
I'm really curious what it would have cost us.
I know, right? Yeah, so that one's great. Now, hang on. Let me
and then 2 hours later, y'all are being blown off the island.
I know, right? And I'm getting sand in my eye and an infection.
Oh, wow.
Gosh.
You know what, Jessica? That wasn't your shining moment. I'm just.
I know. It really wasn't. Oh,
Of course they show my eyes. Yeah.
This is my other favorite. You ready? Okay, this is my other favorite.
Another piece of parchment. Apparently, she stole all the parchment on the island.
Yep.
I got a lot.
Takali tribe, you have 5 minutes to gather all the supplies you will need to survive for the rest of this game. Get on this boat and head to your new home.
That is the parchment you want to see.
Yes, and let me tell you a funny story about this one. Because whenever tree mail would come, they would usually say to us, oh, you might want to go check tree mail. So Ken was really upset because we had started breakfast so late, and he was like, something's happening, and we didn't eat breakfast yet. And I looked at Ken, I'm like, but Ken, nobody has, there's no tree mail. So nothing's happening. And as soon as I said that, this man who was involved in the production hands me tree mail. Literally was like, yeah, handed it to me like, here you go. And I was like, oh, okay.
He comes up beside her and goes, I'm a tree. Here's your mail.
I was like, and so then I looked, I'm like, tree mail, and it was this one. So that was a funny moment.
That was the hand we saw on the edge of the screen on the show.
I in addition to cutting off the logo, I also cut off the congratulations you made the merge sign.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so good.
So I have that. That was one of the things that I stole in the middle of the night.
Nice.
And
yeah,
I
won't take a
letter of every word. It says, "Mail brings advantage. Find it first."
Right.
And that was the clue to go find the advantage that I found.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That I sort of ruined that for the show because I found it without.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I was just saying that was such a big deal, and it didn't even come to pass because you found it before.
Well, so what was interesting was that they asked me in confessional, like, did you notice anything odd about that the merge?
The basket note, yeah.
Because they wanted to ask the question so that I could tell the story if I had indeed figured it out. They didn't know how I found it, right?
Right.
And so, but me being like this guy who is familiar with how the show works, and I'm trying to figure out from their perspective why they're asking some of the questions that they're asking, got my mind going, and I was like, maybe it's a clue to an idol? Again, I was like, it's an idol, and of course I was wrong, but
yeah.
It was funny because they were asking me about something that I had already found, and then I tried to figure it out.
Right. So, Jessica, I want to see the rest of your stuff. But
I have a bag.
Yeah. But we need to say bye to Adam.
I know Adam's got to go.
Right. So, I just want to thank Adam so much for coming on our show. Honestly, it's an honor to find out that you listen to us. I'm always humbled when people say that they listen to us. So it's thank you so much for being a listener, and thank you for being on our show. And
Thank you guys
You're
for
an
being such an
inspiration
important
to
part
so
of the
many
Survivor
people.
community. It's
Hey, and,
What?
yeah, I was gonna say thank you, Adam. And if you get a chance, no rush, we can finish our other conversation at another time. But when you get time, not a rush.
absolutely.
Love you, Adam.
Okay.
Thank you, Adam, for being on the show.
Love you, Jessica.
Feel
Love
free
you
to
guys.
promote
Thank
it
you.
a lot.
Appreciate it. This was fun. Peace.
Enjoy your chips.
I think he already did.
Yeah,
I know. I have to still eat mine.
that's right.
Do
All
you
right.
want to
Here's
see what
hoping.
else I have here?
Yes, we want to see the rest of your
Okay.
stuff.
So I do happen to have some tree mails. These are my tree mails.
Oh my
Good
gosh!
gracious.
You have like 8 tree mails. How did you get all?
She's
of
like,
them?
I got the rock. I'm taking everything.
Wow, Jessica, you could make billions of dollars. No, I'm just kidding. All right. I can't hear her anymore. We can't hear you anymore. What happened?
Uh-oh. Did she mute herself or did you mute her?
I didn't mute her. Hold on.
Well, this became a short podcast all of a sudden.
Yeah, it's like Adam leaves and she decides she doesn't want to talk to us anymore. Hold on. I'm going to try to see if it's over here. Jessica. I can't hear her.
No, we still can't hear you.
Jessica, do you want to get off and get back on? Just use the link again and get back on. Yes, Jessica's going to do that. How cool is it having these two on the show?
I've been meaning to say this, but you and I keep butting over each other, so I apologize that I kept stepping on your toes. But because I know you had as much to say as I had to say, but we need to have 2 guests on more often.
Oh my God.
My goodness, the back and forth between, of course, these two are good friends, so that worked out really good, and I'm so glad they came on together. But having 2 people to counteract and to balance the stories and to go back and forth, that's just awesome. What a great, great show.
They're great guests because they talk a lot and
and they laugh and they drink wine. And,
yeah. We need to have Jessica on next season for sure.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
That was weird. It
I
was like
know.
CBS didn't want me to reveal all of my items.
Yeah.
It was part of the edit. Yeah.
They're watching you. They're like, uh-oh, no, she's got to stop.
Call Google. Call Google.
I know. This is another one.
All right. That one says a new twist to an old favorite because the original didn't hurt enough. Don't be the last to avoid the spill, and you just might avoid the snuff.
Because the original didn't hurt enough.
I don't remember which one that was.
Now, I think that I didn't even realize I had this. The problem is I didn't realize what I had. I just kept shoving it in my bag.
That's
and
awesome.
so I was like, I'm just gonna keep them. And then I think this was the one that I got beaten on. I believe this was the bucket over the head challenge.
Oh, yeah.
So that's one of my.
Was that the first individual immunity challenge? Was that the first one?
Yes, it was.
So did you tell folks, hey, why is there not a female necklace and a male necklace?
Yeah.
I mean, come on. There's
sometimes
I
was wondering if they were going to do that, and then they didn't.
Yeah.
I was hoping they would because there wasn't very many girls left at that point either.
Right.
And then I have this one.
All right, another parchment. It's like a vacation in this tropical place, swimming, jumping, and splashing about. Just remember, this is a race. It's all fun and games until it's you voted out.
That was the one where I jumped off of the 20-foot high
platform.
Oh yeah.
Platform to get the key. That's that one.
Nice.
All right, let's see what else I have here.
It's show and tell with
It is show and tell. I hope you. Oh, this is the one about the summit.
This is exhibit number 7. It's a parch. Call it a summit or call it recon. But call on 4 to go. A purple rock in your hand. Oh, wow. They have to bring up a rock. How nice.
I know, right?
A purple rock in your hand, and you'll represent and return with inside info. Now, did y'all think this might turn into something different than what it turned into?
Yeah, we absolutely were very concerned. We hid everything that was important in our camp because we didn't know if people were going to come to our camp and then maybe steal stuff.
Yeah.
So we were hiding all of our important items and trying to make sure that we knew where everything was. And I mean, who knows? Maybe they could have said whoever went is now on that tribe and you're switching. I mean, you never knew. You just didn't know what they were going to do. Yeah, it was kind of crazy.
All right, did you steal anything? I mean, did you bring anything else home?
I did. I have my napkin.
What? Oh, I gotta see it.
Which it still smells like the island.
Okay,
It's
now
so nice.
that's cool because
That's why it's so cool.
that's
Like
cool
I have it
because
in a Ziploc bag.
smell is such a powerful memory.
It really is. Yeah. Yeah, so that was great. This is a bag that I actually hid the legacy. I hid the legacy in for a long time.
Nice.
Mhm.
This is what we picked the rocks out of. So I put the legacy in that.
Who was your
Smells
first
like
thought to leave that to before you got to Kim? Was there anybody else you thought to leave it to?
Yeah, David would have been my second
Yeah.
choice for that.
Yeah.
I mean, I gave it to Ken because I had promised it to him. And the thing with David, even though David saved me with the idol, which was amazing, it was a great move for his game because he guaranteed that I was going to be in his pocket, that he was going to be able to utilize me moving forward. I would be extremely loyal to him. As far as the game is concerned, it was totally self-serving. It really was. Whereas Ken's relationship with me was much more genuine.
Right.
And so my promise to Ken, I felt like meant a lot.
Right.
Yeah.
I have one of my tags with my name on it.
Nice.
Wow.
These are things that were, tying tree mails. So,
Yeah.
I took some of those too.
Did they do the walk of shame?
She's gonna pull the mailbox out of
Yeah.
her bag in a minute. She's gonna pull the whole tree mailbox out of her.
Yeah.
Oh, this is the best thing. And they didn't do the walk of shame, and I'm actually glad because that's one of my least favorite components of
Yeah.
when I watch the show. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
this takes like forever.
Right. I was just wondering if they did it but didn't show it to us.
Yeah, no. All right, so this. You see this? Okay.
Yeah.
This was what I brushed my hair with.
It's a homemade
Oh,
brush.
that is
Yeah.
crazy.
It's
It
an
is
island brush.
And actually, it was made by Taylor, and it was made by Taylor for Figgy, but Figgy couldn't use it because, look, it still has hair on it, because her hair was like in gnats, and it was
Yeah.
all like, but yeah, so I brushed my hair with this every day.
Taylor made that
Nice.
for Figgy. How
did.
sweet.
I
Does she
have
have
one of
other-
my,
I mean, were they even playing the game or were they just making out all the time?
no, they were, they were playing the game, but they weren't hiding their relationship very well. I mean, when they shared with myself and Ken, Ken and I had already talked about it. Like Ken and I had a conversation about the fact that Figgy and Taylor were like making out, in the shelter, like at night. Like, it was like, or like holding hands, it was like we had seen the physical connection that the
Right.
two of them had. So when they did share with us, we weren't surprised.
Right.
Yeah. So, but yeah, so I have some rocks in here.
Jessica and
from
Taylor.
Summit.
Figgy and Taylor are in the shelter. Everybody go away. All right.
Yeah.
What
But yeah,
was
so
that
that's,
you showed us.
oh, this was one of the challenges that when we
Oh,
split up
the
teams.
blindfold. Well, the
Um,
upper part of the blind.
So we had to tie that on our heads. This was, if you really like this stuff, this is from the Takali, it was hanging on the sign, the Takali
Yeah.
sign. So I snagged that right before we were getting on the boats. I was like, I'm gonna grab that. It hung like on the bottom.
I
You
think
can start your museum.
Survivor that has gotten the most memorabilia. It's like your whole bag was full.
I know.
Producers were like, we were going to recycle that.
I know. This is a piece of one of the torches.
Gosh.
It's funny because when I was watching the Best of Adam video, and when they're walking to Final Tribal, he has a basket, like a big bucket thing that he's carrying. And when he was talking tonight about bringing stuff home, I'm like, is he carrying all that stuff in that bucket, in that basket?
I think everyone, or I think a lot. I brought a whole bunch of shells home. Like I didn't bring those down, but I think everyone was so. When you're out there and you're having this experience, and you're not allowed to take pictures, obviously, because you can't have a camera, and you know that there will be this video of all of this, and there will be a show, and there will be some type of memory for you to go back and look at. But to have something like this in your hand, to be like, this was something, like, it smells like the island, like this
Right.
was something that I had when I was out there and I got to experience. And to me, those were things that I wanted to keep. And so I collected shells, and I collected things that, like pieces of tree mail that some people were like just kind of ripping up and like throwing in the fire. And I was like, oh, that's like a memory,
Yeah.
So for
Let's
me,
go to my
it was
bag.
yes, that was a different experience. But yeah, it was one of those things that to me, that those are the types of memories that I want to bring back and share and have, because those are very special moments. You know, all of those things in that bag have a story with what they're connected to,
Right.
and what was happening in the game at that time. So for me, it was really memorable. And when they told us, yes, you can keep tree mails, I was like, score, because I have a bunch in my bag.
Yeah.
So when they woke up in the morning and everything was wet and everybody was looking around, we got to start fire. We need something dry. Jessica just pushes her bag under the shelf a little further. I have nothing. I had no idea what we're gonna use.
Yeah,
Why-
I wasn't the only one though. There was a lot of people hoarding stuff, I think. So.
Now, why haven't you showed us your lock of Jeff Probst's hair? Why haven't you showed us?
Oh, yeah, he got close to me, like, you know, only after you were clean. Like when you were on the show, there wasn't a whole lot of, you know,
Yeah.
but yeah, he's fantastic. He was great. He was absolutely great.
Awesome. So did you enjoy, I mean, other than you were voted off, did you enjoy Ponderosa? Did you enjoy your time there? Was it kind of fun?
Yeah, Ponderosa was really relaxing in a sense, but also frustrating at the same time, just because obviously you want to still be in the game and you're not, and that's infuriating. But I actually had prepared myself just in case I was going to be spending time at Ponderosa. I brought with me a bunch of work because I actually had a homicide trial scheduled to start like a month after I got home.
Yeah.
So I just decided, you know what, I'm going to sit here in a beautiful tropical paradise and I'm going to do work. And so that worked out nicely because I had a lot of time to do that. And then I had a lot of time to beat myself up. So, yeah.
It's funny.
So did y'all play the?
Never showed you working. It just always showed you working out.
I did do a lot of working out, but I did a lot of working as well. Yeah.
Cameramen were
Did
like, would you
y'all-
please put on the bathing suit and go work out, please? We're tired of you working on your paperwork.
Did y'all
right, go
continue
ahead.
the line game? Did y'all continue the line game, or did it stop with Will?
No, we actually continued it. Like we did it like each time somebody came in, and it was so much fun because we got to a point where we decided to let other people pick for us, so we wouldn't even know what job we were going to have.
how
And
fun.
so it was so great when Brett came in, and I told them that Zeke was a bullfighter, which I thought was hysterical. For some reason, I could totally see Zeke in like the get up.
Yeah.
And because we assigned each other people, we're like, all right, you get to say what they would do and everything. And then so Chris had to tell Brett what I did. So I'm a huge Tool fan. I don't know if you know Tool, but I love Tool. It's my favorite group ever, like my favorite band. They're just amazing. And Maynard is the lead singer. And so Chris tells Brett, Jessica's actually married to the lead singer of Tool.
Oh,
And
wow.
Brett lost his mind because apparently Brett is a huge Tool fan as well. And he was like, no way. Oh my, am I going to get to go to a concert? And I was like, absolutely. Like, well, you know, and so Brett was losing his mind like that whole night because he kept talking to me about Maynard and going to a concert and going backstage, and he was like, I can't believe it. Like, it was so much fun because he like was completely convinced I was married to Maynard.
That is,
So yeah, so we did that. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun.
Will seemed a little ticked off by it.
I don't know why he was ticked off by it, but yeah, he did seem a little annoyed in his
Because he felt like the grown-ups were playing a joke on the kid.
Stop treating me
I
like
know.
I'm 18.
But we did it
And
to
I'm still in high
everyone.
school.
I know, right? But we did it to everyone. It was
Stop
fun.
treating me like I'm still in high school. You are still in high school. I know, but stop
Yeah.
it. All right.
It was fun.
Oh, man, what a great episode. You got anything else you want to say?
I would like to say thank you to both of you because without individuals such as yourself, I do think that people would lose a lot of the significance of the game. You spend so much time working through people's play, why they made decisions they made and their game. And I was so amazed when I found you and when I found people like you. I didn't know that you existed. And I actually went on the show before I knew any of this existed. And I wish I had done the opposite. So thank you for that, because I do think that it's so important. And I want to thank all of the people who watch the show, who tweet about the show, who are fans of the show, because like I said before, if people didn't watch, then it wouldn't still be on there. We wouldn't be on season 34 now. So this whole experience has been truly a blessing, has been amazing. I've appreciated every second of it. I picked the wrong rock, but I made the right decision. So yeah, all in all, I mean, it's really just been a wonderful experience. So thank you so much for the support and love, and I will hopefully be able to continue to return that as much as I can. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Would you be interested? Well, I can't ask you online, but on the air. So I'll ask you afterwards in case you say
okay, super secret.
no. If you say no, I don't want to be like, fronted out in front of all these people.
Yes, thank you for catching yourself on the air for doing that.
Yeah.
Good job.
Tom Champagne does want to write he wants to ghost write your book.
Tom, hi Tom.
He said he would be honored and he would use a lot of alliteration. So there you go.
Your rock story. That's right.
Hi Tom, I'm gonna tweet you about that. Yes.
Tom Champagne. Well, thank
he
you.
He
so
has
much
the best last name ever. Come on.
Yeah, really. She's like, Tom, I drank 8 glasses of you tonight.
It wasn't 8.
I know. Hey, every time we have Cass on, she's always got her wine with her. And
she doesn't
you need a little
put under the table either. She just pours right on top of the table.
I know. I've been trying to hide it over at the side.
No,
let's
okay.
keep it over here.
Okay. Well, it's been a pleasure having you on. It was fun having you in the chat room during the season, and it was really thanks for being man, you're just like, you were all over Twitter and so grateful and so nice to everybody. It was great.
Well, I had a fun time with it, and it's weird because I had never experienced anything like it. And I actually had a friend of mine who told me before all of this was starting that how important that component of this game is going to be, because if you find friends online and out in the world who are fans of the show, then they'll help support you and kind of get you through this. Because I didn't realize just how overwhelming it was all going to be. Yeah. So to have that support has really been a huge part. So I'm glad that I discovered the Twitter world. Right. And follow me on Twitter if you haven't already. But yeah, it's been so much fun. It's been so much fun. Yeah. I love it.
Awesome.
All right. So I'm going to close out the show, but don't you hang up yet. I got that.
Okay, well, hang up.
Yeah, I got that. I don't know what to say no to.
No pressure. No pressure.
Thanks everybody for listening. It's been great. We're going to do, of course, it's 3 hours in. If you're still listening, I don't know, we're going to do a movie talk with D&D about Rogue One. So that's going to be coming up. So be sure to listen to that on our movie talk episode, on our movie talk show. See you later, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
I'm a survivor.